A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us. That point this week would be through the first interlude of Jade War by Fond du Lac.
Hey there, this is Cross.
I'm PJ.
I'm Ben.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Thomas.
And we are Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club. Yeah, second episode of the week, recording on 4/20. So, you know, anyone partaking?
Smoke them if you got them.
I am. It's legal here, so I'm not afraid. I ain't afraid about ghosts.
What are we talking about? Just kidding.
Oh, getting high? Weed?
Hello, fellow
The
kids.
devil's lettuce? Yeah.
I could get out
Left-handed
my.
cigarettes.
I have a CBD pen.
Nice. Wow.
Break that shit out.
Wow.
You know what that does? Absolutely nothing. Makes me look cool.
Wow.
Reduces anxiety.
Does it?
Supposedly. But
That's what they say.
I should test it. I've been not able to finish The Last of Us because of my crushing anxiety. So I should hit the CBD and see if I can get through an episode.
Because
Which
you don't like the show, or there's too
No,
much?
it makes me anxious.
Oh, okay.
I stopped third to last.
Don't say anything. I haven't seen any.
got it. I know
I still
where you're
haven't
at.
watched the last 3 episodes for some reason. They're sitting there. I need to watch them. I want to
So
watch
we
them.
both stopped at the same time.
Yeah.
It's interesting because 7 is one of the best episodes.
Yeah, I don't know what
Yep.
happened. I just didn't get to watch it one week.
It was making
and
me
then-
anxious. I don't like I don't like when kids break rules. It's like my type A. I'm like,
Kids breaking rules. Okay, mom.
Aaron was a mall cop in another life. Yeah.
Jeez. In a past life.
All right. Today's our third episode. We're going to be chatting about chapter 16 through the first interlude, which is basically 21 plus the interlude. So short episode all told here. But PJ, on 420, what's our featured cocktail? Run us through this recipe. You totally put in the
I
document.
have a cocktail that turned out way less colorful than the one on the Educated Barflies website that I took this recipe from. It's called the First Lady. It is a gin-based cocktail. It's 1.5 ounces of gin, half an ounce of Cointreau. I used triple sec. I didn't have Cointreau specifically. A half ounce of simple syrup, half ounce of lemon juice, a teaspoon of matcha, an egg white, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of a THC extract that I added to it. Dry shaken, added ice, shaken, and then garnished with a basil leaf. This just tastes like weed.
It just blew it out.
It just completely blew it out.
Any food or drink that has marijuana in it just tastes like weed and smells like weed to me. Like cookies, brownies, chocolates.
I don't ever had one that tasted good.
I've never had one that didn't taste like weed.
Yeah.
This feels like
Yeah,
a challenge
it's-
that I have to figure out now.
It was a
just
1/4
overtakes it.
teaspoon. I thought it'd be a small enough volume to be completely hidden, but nope, not at all. So I can't speak to at all what
What the cocktail tastes like.
actually tastes like. So I'm sorry for the disappointment
you
of a
didn't
featured
taste
cocktail.
it before
But
you added the marijuana.
no, I added it to the shaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
All right.
next week we'll try it without.
that could be.
Get some stronger matcha too. Maybe you'll get that color.
Yeah. This didn't work out. But it's all good.
Chug it.
Just get blasted right now.
We joked about it on the Devil's Cut, but I have this weed pen with me, and I could hit it ahead of time, but I haven't.
You can do whatever you like.
I'm being semi-responsible with my drug use.
We believe
So.
in you. Good stuff.
Talk about a mall cop.
Aaron, what are you drinking?
Ben brought over some high noons. This is the
Nice.
version with vodka, and it's mango. Made with real juice. Have you had a high noon?
I have. Yep.
They're
pretty
quite
good.
tasty.
Quite tasty.
Sun sips.
Nice. Is that what you're having too, Ben? Mango?
That
Same thing?
is mango flavor.
Nice.
I think, were we talking about mangoes last time?
we did.
Or maybe
Mango
I was
soda.
talking about
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Mango
Yeah.
soda in the airplane.
That was what inspired me.
Oh.
On the theme. Good work. Thomas, what are you sipping on?
Well, as I mentioned to you off air before we recorded, it feels to me as if though somebody is playing the accordion with my insides. And so I'm drinking the nectar of the gods.
Sounds tough.
Arnold Palmer. You know me, big fan of no free ads. However, this is truly just such a delightful beverage that
We'll give
I'm not
The
going to
brand
deprive
Arnold
the-
Palmer.
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold
'Cause when you say Arnold Palmer, I just think lemonade iced tea.
Mhm.
Which
no, it's the
isn't-
brand.
Like you,
Pour one out
it's,
for the boy.
it's also called that when it's not that brand.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
That's just what the drink is called. So it wasn't really a free ad.
Fine. Arizona Arnold Palmer iced
Now
tea.
it's a free ad.
Okay.
half and
That's
half
okay.
iced tea and lemonade. Shout out the goats.
Anyone else can't say Arnold Palmer?
It is tough sometimes, right?
Burner Permer.
Arnold Palmer.
Let me ask you guys
Arnold
this.
Palmer.
Was that a Kennedy impression?
All right. I'm having a Negroni. I'm channeling
Negroni sisters!
the
A
previous,
Negroni.
yes, channeling the previous one. I
I
did. I
Oh,
thought that I
stunning.
doubled it, and I was not looking at the total volume of my jigger when I did it, and so I actually tripled the
That looks
recipe.
like a
So
lot.
this is it's going to last the entire episode and more. In theory, it should. I'm going to go to bed with that cocktail still having some in it. So yeah, that's the game plan. So
don't be a pussy.
okay, well, cheers, goodbye. Just kidding.
Alexa, play Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
About to just drown in the whole thing. Swimming pools, really. All right. Before we talk about the chapters, PJ Ben Aaron, how'd you feel about this week's reading?
Bad.
Not good. Nope.
Not good.
Hated it.
Really bad.
Ooh.
I don't know why you would say that.
It's crazy.
It's hard to get over that last chapter.
Pretty
Uh-huh.
rough.
All of it
Nothing
was pretty.
happens.
Yeah. I mean, I have some qualms with what happened in Andon's chapter.
Oh my god.
And,
Andon. Kill him.
and then
Wow.
yeah, the bookends here with Andon starting and then Hilo. Everything I said last week,
Take it back.
take it all back.
Yeah.
Uh,
How dare he?
Yeah. We also have another week deprived of Barrow.
Our main character.
Our main character.
I forgot about him.
I kind of think you're supposed to. Story's like, yeah, don't worry about it. He'll come back later. All
He
right.
did say he's going to pop up at an inopportune time.
I just want to say all of these stereotypes are making a lot of sense
Which
What about
stereotypes?
Greenbones?
about all Kekanese being
Mm.
brutes, being,
They're certainly earning their reputation.
like bullies.
Violent.
Not looking good for our friends here.
Yeah, in the larger world, in the larger scheme of things, it's interesting for sure.
We
All
do
right.
get another baby,
Yeah.
though.
We do get another baby. We get
We're
kind of we get
Hilo
two,
stole my baby.
We got 2 babies.
and we got some
He
Brits.
stole my baby. It took me a second to realize what you said. I was like, no, it's Dingo. Oh.
That's the clip. There we go. It's super early, but that's perfect. I'm drinking to that. All right. With that, let's get into this. Chapter 16, Not a Thief. We start this week with Andon really trying to understand the community in South Trap with the Heons, including the total number of greenbones in the community. Later, he rides his bike to a park and takes the incorrect bike from the rack, drawing an Uspenian man's ire. A fight breaks out, and Andon channels his martial training, kicking the shit out of that man. Later, the Heons explain to him the mistake of what he's done, and boy, oh boy, does that leave Andon in a funky place, kind of for this week's chapters. We kind of get these pair right here to talk about Andon. What'd you guys think? overall.
I thought Andon was being a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I agree. Like, how ignorant is this man? Like, how do you not know that you can't just like duel with somebody? I mean, like, did he not pay attention in school at all? I feel like that's something you would know about Espenia.
And he was at fault.
Yes.
How is that guy supposed to know that it was an accident?
He didn't try to explain it all.
I can understand like being upset by the situation on Andon's part, but to claim that he's not a thief in this moment, like he's accidentally a thief,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't mean he didn't steal the bike despite it being accidental.
It was weird how like
He should have given it back and then just like gone back and gotten his bike.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like wrong bike.
Yeah.
Bro. I don't know. Like
It's so bizarre.
it was bizarre to me. And for him to just like not know the rules of the country, I
was
feel like was
bizarre.
also just weird.
It was bizarre knowing Andon
Yeah.
because like that seems really out of character for him.
Yeah, he's a bitch.
But
Now
like,
he's tries to be a tough guy.
yeah, that was so weird.
So if I may, I think there's two crucial pieces of nuance, and I can't believe I'm the one providing nuance for Andon here. In KCON, as we know, thief, lowest of the low. So calling somebody a thief to Andon, that's like horrible, being called a thief. Second, Spenian, he rejected that culture all of his life because of internalized racism because of his father, or self-loathing or whatever. I don't know what the correct term, but hatred of Espenia because his father abandoned his family. So he has no idea about their customs, and also Espenian, his second language. So, he's like, not thief, accident, or mistake or whatever. Could he have done a better job? Yes. I just think, that's the culture he was raised in.
But, like,
you talk
okay.
shit, you get hit.
Yeah, and I did get I read that part where he said lowest of the low, you can't call me a thief. But like, dude, you just stole something. You are a fucking thief. So like, be like, sorry, like, don't do it again. Grab the right bike, dum.
Yeah, I don't really get why he decided to be a tough guy in this moment.
Funny enough, for me, I feel like it's the reverse representation of like what we called. So we in the first book, we really talked a lot about like Shay and like what the clan gives her indirectly, and this is a very similar thing where the clan would protect Andon in theory around even being accused of something like this in the culture. And so it's kind of like the reverse status where Andon's been used to leaning on the clan so much, and all of a sudden it's no longer there, and he fucked up in a big way as a part of that.
Yeah, I think what's the most unbelievable part for me is not that he misunderstood. I think that's understandable through all of the points that everybody's been bringing up. But the fact that he's been in this country for a couple months at this point, something like that.
Yeah,
and
4 months, 5 months.
Presuming it's kind of a stand-in for Western culture, whether it's Europe or the United States or something in between or a blend of the two, whatever it is. I would assume a lot of the sort of pop culture, a lot of any sort of media consumed would follow sort of Western customs to a certain degree. And stop thief is such a huge trope in almost any sort of media that the fact that he hasn't been exposed to that at all, and the casual nature of it, or the less like damning nature of it and the differences, it's more than anything surprising to me that he wouldn't have been exposed to this almost right away upon entering the country.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that we're not like educating our Greenbone warriors at the academy
Like, hey, if you go somewhere
where
else,
they can duel and where they can't.
They're just fighting on poor man's road, man. They don't want to fight the Jadeless unless they wronged them. This was a case where Aisha was called into question, and so our boy Andon had to step
no one
up.
has Jade, so
yeah.
Two Jadeless people can fight, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just like head scratching. I was like, what are you doing? Stop it.
I think he's just
You're
angry.
lashing out.
This is totally, more than anything else, I think that there's that element of undertone, I should say, of anger to this whole thing, which is just exacerbated by the language barrier and everything else that we've cited too.
But
As
again,
mentioned,
it's
sad
like
boy, mad boy.
These
Mad
bad reputations make sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I do want to talk a little bit about some of the cultural things that get brought up right in the beginning of the chapter, right? So the differences that we see between the different sects, right? So like he figures out that he could actually spend all of his time, if he wanted to, just secluded, as opposed to learning language. He could spend all that time with the Heons and in, God, what's the area called again? I know the city's Port Massey, but the
South Trap.
He could spend all of his time in South Trap, similar to this is any borough of Brooklyn with its sub dialect. So like Bushwick, tons of Brazilians from my experience there. So you could spend a ton of time there and be spending a lot of time with Brazilian or Dominican folks. And it has that kind of big city vibe. I think they say 20 million people for Port Massey. It's a big city. So,
Right.
yeah.
I was looking at the map, but it's just the blown out continent view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think in this one we get the map of Port Massey. I think we get the cities pointed out more directly on Legacy. Yeah. Nonetheless, very, very kind of cool moments throughout. But I think that there's also that element of him that I particularly like, which is that he still wants to know who's a Greenbone, so he can call them Jen, because he feels that respect naturally. Because it's not, he knows that he's abstained from Greenbone culture, but he still respects it. Like, he's chosen not to be a Greenbone, but that culture is still 100% a part of him.
I thought that sort of exchange was a little bit funny in that they didn't outright tell him who was and who wasn't a Greenbone. He had to like case by case ask them. Mm-hmm. And when he was wrong, they'd be like, "Oh no, how silly would that be? Can you imagine
that fucking guy?"
They didn't just give him a list of all the Greenbones, but clearly they know all of them. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny.
They're like, there's 30 or 40, but it's like, well, tell me who. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the fist fight nonetheless, despite the lead up. It was kind of fun to see that moment of like Andin not wanting to start a fight and then taking a couple of blows and flipping that switch on, which has been his life's training with Hilo, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. He actively started the fight.
Well, only after.
So he was like hesitant.
Yeah.
After being accused, yeah, but it's not like he got
Then he got
cold-cocked.
into it and beat the shit out of the guy.
Right. It really took him getting hit once before it turned on. But yeah. Men. us fucking guys. So there's also the final bit of the chapter, which I appreciate, of course, is when they sit down and have the conversation about the cultural differences, and they drink hoji and smoke cigarettes to calm down, which is a very Greenbone culture custom, as we've found. So cheers. Drink while they drink.
Cross, you're already halfway through.
I said I'm not going to fuck around.
You were like,
so
it's
I settled
too
on not.
big.
I settled on not fucking around, so here we are.
Nice.
But the Heons are great. I mean, I think that's kind of the core here, is that they're a wonderful adopted family trying to take care of him and respect him, and then also bring us right into the next chapter to take him to the pillar.
Do we know how old the Heons or what's their name?
Heons. Yeah,
Heons.
the Heons.
Do we know how old they are?
Seems like
Okay.
50s,
Probably describe it at some point.
60s.
Okay, so
yeah.
they're not like
Some
They have
of
old.
them are in that
grown
range.
children, don't they?
They're not like
They've-
old.
3 children, I
They're
think.
like
Yeah,
college age
the
and
history
above.
kid, and
Yeah.
And they're all like, they're
Adults.
empty nesters at this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
No worries.
Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure on that either.
I switched back and forth between like 50s and like 70s.
To be fair, in my head, I had, and this is just because obviously I read the whole series, I had the Dauks in place of the Heons for some reason. And so like I was like, wait a minute, Mr. Heon's the pill. Why didn't we talk about? And then it was like, when I read this week, I was like, oh yeah, duh, those are separate. Never mind. So
Speaking of the Dow,
yeah, let's talk about that. Our boy with the
In
blendered
chapter-
guts.
Yeah, I was on it. I was just trying to do some research. Sorry,
I
you guys are just spouting facts willy-nilly. I was trying to fact check live. Someone's trying to be responsible here. Anyway, chapter 17, The Pillar of South Trap. Cut to the next evening where we see Andin and the Heon family traveling across town to have dinner with the Dauks. Daut Losunian, Daut Sana, and their son Daut Toru, the young man with naughty calves that Andon met several months back. Although everything is shockingly casual and foreign to Andon at first, things take a turn toward the serious and familiar once Ron Toru arrives. From there, talk turns to the looming outlaw of civilian Warren Jade and Espenia, the cruise, and how to resolve the situation Andon has put himself and the Hyans into.
Roan, in this
Roan.
case. Yeah. Ron also does visually make sense, but Roan is the way that it's said in the audiobook. Just so you know. You can say it however you like, but
Speech therapy, they said sound it out. Sorry, guys.
And by the way, it's not Koru. He goes by Corey.
I'm getting to that, you know? You looked at the notes. It's in there.
Oh, that was lame.
I thought it was
The
cute.
reason, I think the reason, or at least the reason I was giggling after the naughty calves thing, we dwelled on it a little bit, but we dwelled on it a lot more in the Devil's Cut of last episode when we had a pretty fun conversation.
Mm-hmm. That is naughty
And-
with a KN, by the way.
That is.
Oh, not like
But
naughty.
it works
Not
both
naughty.
ways, yeah. Well,
When
not
you
British,
say it
so of
like
course it's
that.
not naughty.
well,
See?
you know. But we're over in Espenia, so I had to do it, you know, since they're quasi-British. Also, I think before we like dive into some of that, I definitely want to talk about it more. I'm curious as to your guys' thoughts on the amalgamation of the countries. So, like, what do you think takes the inspiration for the ROE? Like, where do you think that's sourced from? I know we just said British a little bit, but what's it feel like to you?
What's the ROE?
Republic of
of Espenia.
Espenia. I was putting that together
I
myself
was
for
like,
a
did
second.
everyone
Put
understand
it together out loud.
question?
Yep. Comes up in the
Shifty
chapter with
eyes.
the colonel and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's the first mention of it.
I don't listen to audiobooks, so I was thinking American.
The British accent is very like sporadic, and you can't like put your finger on it. It's just
It's
like
all over the place. This
it's
one.
it's
Mhm.
like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's almost like a like classic American movie accent where it's like high speech. but
Mid-Atlantic, yeah.
Thank you, but it's
Mhm.
not British. I don't know. Just
Going off of it.
fancy pants.
Sometimes it's like
Sounds-
Australian-ish, too, a little bit.
Mhm.
I think that added confusion for me when I was listening to the audiobook because it is so inconsistent, especially across the different characters, that I couldn't remember if they were all Espenian or not.
Mm. See,
It's
I've
also
headcanoned it where they're just from different areas of Espenia, a la the United States or otherwise, where it's like you got the variations on accents specifically between characters
Yeah.
because it's a big ass country compared to other places.
Mhm.
That would make sense.
Well, that's a rationale I'm making, not anything. You know, that's
I would
pure copium.
say, like a tea drinking, pinkies up country. So British it
definitely-
is.
definitely the accent we got in Jade City when we met the Espenians for the first time.
Mhm.
And then now it's like 4 different versions all over the place. I think Espenia is definitely it primarily draws on English and American themes and history and culture, it seems like. But there's also a little bit of, some at least colonial era Dutch going on. Adamant Capita is very reminiscent, I feel like, of the, Dutch and British Indian
Well, it's
indie trading
literally-
companies and all that.
It's literally AC, which is the same as DC. Like it shares that idea. Yeah. There's
I forgot we
another
had
note later
Thomas,
in
the
Interlude,
history
but-
major, on.
Right. As a backup to that, the other thing that points me in that direction as well is the fact that the continent is Espenia, and then Spensa, I think, or the continent of, and then basically named it similar to America, like the whole thing. And it's like, oh, we're the United States of America. And so it's this subgroup that is claiming the whole region, despite there being an entire another country or multiple maybe on the other side.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How very American.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't put that together. That makes sense to me.
That's pretty much it. But it's fun. Real world shit.
I did miss, because I didn't look at the map, to refresh my memory that Adamant Tapit is literally the capital. I was thinking it was a company on the reread.
It does sound
I
like
made
it.
that. Yeah. So the arrival into the dockhouse is very interesting for a few reasons, because there's like the off-putting foreign and normalcy of it all compared to Andon's frame of reference. And then there's also just a plethora, if you will, of Bluffers Jade all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
That had to have been pretty
necessarily.
jarring.
What do you mean? What? All over the place?
They had a decent amount of Bluffers Jade sitting around.
Okay.
They had a really nice vase made of it.
Fakers. I don't know.
I guess that's probably, I think it speaks to it later on in the chapter, right? When we find out why people don't show their jade.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I guess that's probably what's going on there, where they're still trying to like show that they're green and that they're Kekinese, but I don't know. Just stuff around the house, they don't want it being like really out there in the open. Does it make them a target? I don't know.
Yeah, in terms of normalcy, I felt like that. It seemed like a chill family.
They did seem very nice.
They seem like nice people, willing to help their neighbors. You know, the way they talk to their son, it's all very
Mhm.
familial. And they're not like rich like the Calls or in as high of a status. So they seem more accessible.
Very much the community takes care of the community vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Yeah. And the never ending, what is it called? Like the dad is doing the construction on the basement or whatever. And they're like, no, what is that? Like nonstop renovation. Yes. Just ongoing. It's like, it just seemed like, you know, we all know a million families just like the Dowds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone's doing some renovation that will never get finished.
I need to swap out a shower head right now. It's sitting on my counter. It just needs to happen. And it's
Fucking
been a
do
week.
it tonight. You'll be lubed
God,
up. And ready
I
to
will
go.
be properly doused by the time
Don't
this is done.
forget the
drinking again.
plumber's tape.
Needed to change a light bulb on my girlfriend's back deck, and it's like it's elevated, so I needed to like stand on something to get up there and then like unscrew the top of the light bulb casing. I put that off for a solid 4 months, and then I did it last weekend, and it took, I'm not even kidding, 5
30
minutes.
seconds. Okay. It's one of those things where
This
it's
is
like,
why
it takes no time.
I just do shit myself and don't wait for anyone.
That's
Otherwise it'd
honestly
never get done.
good for you, Aaron, because
I don't live
that's-
there. It's not like, I mean, it's not my house.
I'm saying she should do it herself.
You know?
And I know she shouldn't listen, so. By the way, I changed my shower head because I added a sprayer for dog baths,
Mhm.
and it was very easy, Cross. I think you can do it. You don't even
Yeah.
have to turn off your water.
I was just trying to like hand torque the one a couple of times. Then I was like, well, fuck. I had like unboxed it and I
You
was like, I'm
probably
just
need
going
more
to do this.
tape.
Yeah. I've got a lot of tape, but I need a wrench or a fucking, yeah. I need just a thing to get it off. I need more leverage.
This has been
my
Home
fingers.
Improvement Chat.
Yes. Just like the Dougs, we're all, middle class.
Old.
Busy
fuckers.
people.
So
So going back to the Bluffers Jade comment,
Yes.
I don't know if everybody else got this feeling, but like I was trying to put myself in Andon's shoes. Like, what would it be like if, like, how I can liken it would be like going to an expat's house, like on the other side of the world, and their entire house, all the decor is just American flags on everything.
that's actually a fair point.
I think that's what this kind of is like. Like, it's just
But they're American,
aggressively
so.
overly tacky K-Con stuff. But it's fine here. It's just it wouldn't really fly back home.
Yeah, that's a good
Like you
comparison.
live in Egypt.
I feel like
and
it'd
your
be kind of
entire
like,
inside this American flags.
maybe, yeah, I guess. That's fair. It'd be like anime eagles or something, or like biblical scenes, but anime.
Yeah.
You lost me, Thomas. You totally lost
I don't.
me.
Well, like tacky, you know what I mean? Like it's something sacred to your culture, but then tacky.
I see.
Right.
I see.
So like just a bunch of American flags. It's just like that's the actual thing. You just be like, these guys are weirdos. So that there has to be the fake too. So like a
Yeah.
bunch of
The Coca-Cola
the
polar bear.
Gadsden flag.
Yeah. Right.
Or just cheeseburgers.
Everywhere. That would be delicious, though.
McDonald's arches over your door.
There it is.
There it is.
we got it. So one of the other things I wanted to touch on is that abrupt shift once Roan Toru arrives. And then all of a sudden, everything flips for Andon, and he's able to, he's back in his sort of familiar territory, because he did grow up in the clan.
Mm-hmm.
We got some gangster shit going on here.
We got a fist.
It's accompanied by Hoji.
Cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, it's interesting to see Andon connect the dots with Roan and then be like, wow, I guess things aren't that different over here. But at the same time, this is still a Kekanese neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So they've organized themselves into a similar grouping far from home because of their culture. So it's not like the Aspenians have this and fingers that we know of.
Speaking of that, we do, once he arrives, we get sort of we leap into breaking down what happened, what they're going to have to do to fix the situation. We also did a conversation about the Republic of Aspenia moving to ban Jade for civilian use. So I was wondering if that stood out to anybody. And, where could that be going?
Political bullshit.
Feels very similar to the way that weed was, criminalized and now is being decriminalized in a similar fashion. But if weed gave you superpowers, you know what I mean?
Does it?
BJ, how you feeling?
I'm gonna eat so much fucking cookie dough when we're done here.
Careful.
That feels like a superpower.
It's
Non-gendered use of the
You're
word
on your mom
dudes
vibe
here.
hard today.
But dudes who are big into weed, I feel like would tell you that it gives you superpowers.
Yeah, for sure. Mine just, when I do it, usually just makes me very paranoid. So
Same.
Yeah, he goes
I gotta know
stands
what's
in
with
a
you guys.
corner and stops talking.
I become almost
That's interesting.
catatonic, waiting for wings to come out. I think I told you guys that story.
Strange.
But I think that it's more not like weed, it's more like guns or
Yes.
weapons, because Jade creates weapons of people, and like Andon showed us, the people raised on KCON, they're raised to be quick triggers. So it makes sense that they would want to take away Jade from civilians who aren't, maybe responsible with it.
Mm-hmm. And it also, I think, it gets back to something that happened in the previous chapter where Andon's, confused when they break up the fight, and he sees a Kekanese person, he talks to them, and he's like, hey, what's going on? Doesn't answer, and then, oh, you Islander, you're trying to make us all look bad? And so there's obviously, already that notion, that preconceived notion that Kekanese are... Sorry, guys, the internal gut accordion is getting me. But there's, those preconceived notions are clearly coming into play with the political situation.
It all has to do with the clean blades, I think.
All
Not
of it?
quite. Not quite. But imagine if that was an everyday occurrence. Arguments were settled by duels in general. I think that's a lot of this culture is born out of that.
This would be a one-person podcast at this point. PJ would have killed me. I would have been right, but PJ would have killed me.
If he could get
That's
to you,
what
you're
matters.
too far away.
Yeah. Well...
All right. I think there's something you guys probably are itching to talk about that we've neglected thus far, and that is our friend Toru Endor Tori.
what do you think of
What are your
Koru?
takes?
Isn't it like Koru-san or something? Koru.
He calls him
something?
Toru Jen.
Well,
Oh, you mean
does
the
have-
full name?
He does have
full
green.
name.
Yeah.
I got it. Tori sounds like a love interest.
Ooh.
There are a
does.
lot of, descriptions of his legs and other features.
His name is Koru John.
Yeah, Andon definitely is ogling him a little bit.
Seems like a cool cat. He seems like a skater boy.
Yeah, he seems like very relaxed. He's not
probably
really
could ride a moped.
yeah.
Some 41 era skater kid,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
I get a-
Andon's Avril Lavigne in this scenario.
Doesn't give a fuck
Yes.
type guy.
Good work.
I get a weird feeling that he's going to drag Andon into some unsavory shit.
As a guy going into law, going to...
I didn't get that vibe.
He
seems pretty chill to me.
I got the vibe more from the dad that he was a little too excited about who Andon is connected to. Like you can tell he wants that connection for something.
Interesting.
Playing for power. Yeah. Kind of. Or connection.
For something. I don't know.
I thought he came off kind of like cool and detached and
he's experiencing
chill
420
vibe. Yeah.
That's what I try to do, but instead have a panic attack every time someone tries to talk to me. Like, oh yeah, here's my entire life story. Sorry, I'm a piece of shit. By the way, the Negroni is almost gone.
You're not a piece of shit. You're an alcoholic.
Aaron, where did you see Toru John?
Fair.
In the beginning.
What page?
JON. Yeah.
Dramatis.
Dramatis
Okay.
Dramatis persona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't look at that.
It's also
I don't need it.
it's also on 171.
There's
you.
Dauk
Yeah.
Lasanyan, Dauk Sanasan,
Or sorry, 160.
and
Fuck.
Dauk Korujan, also known as Corey.
143.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, in the Kindle. My bad.
No worries. I was just trying to find it. No big deal. Okay.
I'm not making shit up.
I was just making sure. I couldn't find it, so I was like, "What the fuck?"
It's one of those things, especially with a lot of these names, where you just
wanna
live by
duel,
the
Thomas?
abbreviations.
Not at all.
I demand to clean
Aaron's-
plate.
Yeah. Fuck you and your honor.
I wasn't fact checking you. I was just trying to be like, "How did I miss it?" Because I looked for it. That's all.
We're coming for your honor, Thomas.
All right. So the last thing I had in my notes, feel free to elaborate if you guys want to, was one of the cool things I think in this chapter is, we come in, Andon doesn't know anything really. And as he learns who people are, the descriptors for the people change. So we meet
Big Dauk.
Dauk-sana.
Yep.
Dauk-sana. And it's the wife first, which made sense. He doesn't know her name. Then he gets the name. Toru becomes Tori. And all these little things. And I believe there's some Dauk Low to the pillar stuff going on. Just like a nice little as Andon's understanding of these people change, so is it framed differently to us as the reader as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
It is cool.
It's one of those casual things that Fonda just does very well, where it's effortless between the flowing of knowledge and the way that it's incorporated into the text. The way that that's shown or represented for me is in that final handshake, where we're brought back to the hands, and he sees them as these sort of craftsman hands. But then when he actually goes in, he's like, they're rough but friendly in a very different context, because he understands that he's this pillar and he's this member of community, and that's a big deal. So there's just so much good incorporation across that whole wave that I love.
It is kind of reminiscent a little bit of in Jade City, how we're slowly exposed to the suffixes and their meanings, and then they just start being used more and more, and it becomes effortless, and then now it's just part of our understanding of the characters,
Mm-hmm.
who they are and what they mean and to the community based on how they're addressed.
Yeah, PJ Gen. All right. With that, PJ Gen. That's a fucking
P-Gen.
mouthful.
He doesn't
P-Gen.
wear jade.
Yeah. He would, though, as mentioned. Chapter 18, The White Lantern Club. We move to Shay, who is making big political moves in the White Lantern Club on behalf of No Peak, and in many ways, KCON itself. Meeting with Ambassador Mendoff and Colonel Leland, that's where I live, Dealer, she discussed the reopening of the Jade Mines as well as the instability of the civil war of Oortokon and the necessity of intervention in the region as it blooms into potentially the first modern, in quotes, Jade War. She offers these men something different in their partnership, something separate from Jade, crucial information on the Egatanian SN1 development and supply. There's so much here that I love this chapter. It's my favorite chapter of the week, hands down.
For sure.
Yeah. This is the moment in which Shay just wins the week.
It's the only non-disappointing chapter.
Well, this one and the moment that Shay has with Marrow, I think, are both great chapters, and I do love the reunion in Libon as well.
I think that one's nice.
Yeah, But I think this is the chapter of action that we really tried to capture. And again, it's that political development. But I love the setting of this. The description of the club itself is opulent and having only changed in very recent years, especially its behavior and the way that it lets people in, puts us back in that time nearer to the 60s and 70s, right in the midst of the same progression, I think, as like second wave feminism, which we've kind of seen used throughout. It's this idea of like being able to exceed a lot of those boundaries that were set beyond just the acceptance of general voting rights and being able to be business people and sort of that expansion. We kind of see that represented, I think, throughout the chapter. So I think that places us kind of in a moment in time, which I really appreciate.
I did love that mood setting situation a lot. The whole club.
It was a gentleman's club, and then it was like, okay, it was a no peak only gentleman's club, and then it's like, we'll open it to women. Okay, we'll open it to the other clan. Okay, now it's kind of just more open, more accessible. Money. What's the quote? Money is fluid.
Give me some James Bond vibes.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah. Even during the recent period of clan war, money was more fluid than blood. And it definitely James Bond vibes.
Painter's quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, this. I liked the way that Shay was able to keep a level head throughout all of this and take command and be the authoritative voice that she needed to be, given a lot of pushback on like, well, this isn't clan business. Like, you're not the government, and like, you're not the pillar. Like, there were all of these sort of pushbacks, and she was able to dismantle them all expertly. I thought it was really well done.
Totally agree. I loved how in control she was of the whole thing. And like, I think last week we touched on like how this is like Hilo in his moment, and like he's like, this is what he, he's kind of coming into his own. And then this week he shat on all of that, but we'll get to that later. But this to me was like Shay having that same kind of situation where she's like really owning this moment, and she's really coming into her own. She's put a lot of work into like building to this place as weatherman, and she's just like completely in control, moving chess pieces around, manipulating these two guys. Yeah, exactly. And doing kind of exactly what she wants them, seeing exactly what she wants. She's like slapping them on the wrist when they, use the wrong term for her.
Yeah, call me Jen.
Yeah, I liked all of it.
That moment, especially like right early on, she's like, here's the tone, especially Colonel Dealer remembers her probably as, and then as she goes into later as like a young 20s woman. Now she's like, hey, things are different since you last been here. May address
Look
me
at all
as
my Jade.
Call
I'm
Jen.
decked out. I could literally kill all of you.
Yeah, I've always heard this referred to as status play, right? As this idea of like who has the status in the moment in writing. And I've talked with Rob about this for quite some time, but like just this idea of the way that shifts over a conversation. But Shay like never lost it. Like they tried to reclaim ground and she just kicked them off of that cliff repeatedly.
Yes. All the way to the end when they're like, can you even make this decision? And she's like, yes, I can. I'm fucking weatherman. Mm-hmm. I speak with the voice of the pillar.
Everything I say goes.
Yeah.
Try me.
Mic drop. Like, that was great.
This is jumping ahead a little bit, but we do see like a similar sort of like claiming of the status thing later with NA and Hilo in the last chapter we cover.
Aini. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Aini. It's so hard to pronounce. Aini.
It's hard. Yeah.
Hard if you read
the narrator makes it seem like Amy. It sounds like Amy every time.
It's very close to
Amy. Yeah, and then reading it doesn't seem like that, so it's hard to remember.
But they're given a pronunciation guide, so.
Reading it, I just want to say Enya all the time.
I also, every single time.
Say when I'm just here for the sound bites.
I hear it.
Sound bites.
In my head, I'm like, I know how to say it, and then as soon as I go to say it, the wrong thing comes out every time, and it's like, whatever, we'll get there.
Yeah. Just to speak to some of that power that Shay wields, I love this quote that she gives back when she starts to get some of that pushback from the colonel and the ambassador. She says, "You'll have to wait for the official answer. It will have the same as the unofficial one that you're hearing from me now. We have a saying in KCON, gold and jade, never together. Those of us who wear jade don't hold political office, but you're not asking for gold. you're asking for Jade. In that, the clans have the final say. And that is just a brilliantly clever way of dancing with that devil in a way that we haven't talked about yet. It's great.
Loved that. Yeah. That really stood out to me.
Jade.
I think we also have to appreciate how uniquely qualified Shay is for this position. And this meeting specifically, being an Espenian ambassador to a certain degree on top of Weatherman, is like exactly what she needs to be for this conversation.
Yeah.
To go the way she needs it to.
Her experience is paramount.
What was her code name? I keep forgetting.
Ooh.
Tormamont or something. I'm mispronouncing it, but it's Torment.
Has the Cormamont ever led you wrong?
Yes. But PJ, to your point, Shay is probably the only Greenbone ever who could have pulled this off. It's like, her grandfather, the Torch, prolific businessman, many dealings with the Espenians, incredibly racist towards them.
Cormorant. Yeah. Anyway.
Cormorant.
Yeah.
Komomomo.
Komomomo.
This is Mario sounds. It's fine.
Maybe you shouldn't drink another.
You know what? No free ads on that. All right. PJ and I make Mario sounds every 3 episodes, so it needed to happen.
You can make the sounds, you just can't say the name.
12 episodes.
Did you see the movie?
Not yet. The rest of my family has. I'm the only one that hasn't. They all loved it.
My brother said that he really liked it. And he basically said if you grew up playing any Mario, then you'll like it.
Yeah. That's pretty much
You
what
gotta
I've
go
heard.
see it. You didn't see it without me, did you?
I did not.
Ben will do that. He'll go see it without you.
That is true.
Yeah, he's seen every Chris Pine movie without me, and I can't believe it.
I'll fly
I
out
still
for
need to see
D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Just kidding. I don't have any time off. No, I love the way that a lot of that ties together in that conversation, and the history that she has, again, is the only way that she can pull a lot of that off to begin with.
I liked the scene setting, not only the gentleman's club and her like being the most powerful person in this previously womanless establishment.
Great poll.
But she also the Espenians like feel bad for the men that are with her that aren't eating any of the food.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even a more like these men are my bitches. They can't touch my food. They're my dogs,
Wow.
There's a lot of power there, not only in the immediate moment that Shay has over the men and like them knowing not to eat and to have eaten beforehand, but also in sort of the weakness that's presented by them being at a negotiating table and not realizing it and eating dinner and getting fat and tired. And like, it's clever. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Something I wasn't expecting and maybe doesn't even make much sense, but we spent a lot of time with the Twice Lucky and the crispy squid balls, that when the Espenian like overlooked the squid, like looked at it funny and then went for the pork instead, I took that shit personally. I felt bad about it.
I was gonna say that's when you knew the Espenians like they're not shit.
100%.
He's like no squid.
That's kind
and
of
this is a different place.
Yeah,
Right.
It's probably a different squid dish.
That was a good call out.
It's kind of though like in different cultures, like it's a delicacy to like eat the tongue of the cow, or there's things that like I probably find gross that it would be offensive if I didn't like accept, in a scenario. So I wonder if Shay was offended as well. Like, I bought this delicacy and you didn't partake.
Yeah, she pays attention to it, obviously, because we get it from the narrator POV, right? So she clearly notices. I think that this scene would look so good on film. I can imagine this scene perfectly for TV. We haven't talked a whole lot about adaptation. That's something that PJ always try to hit on. But like, this is a perfectly tense 5-minute scene. That'd just be incredible.
Yeah, we're not directors here. I don't think we got to touch on it. There's 5 of us. We got to keep time
Ben's
flowing.
a director.
Ben is besides Ben. Ben's a film editor.
No, editor. We call him an editor, not a director. I'll direct.
No
He's
comment.
mad.
No comment.
We'll make it all work.
Let's just keep it breezing. Keep it like CoverGirl, easy breezy,
beautiful. Yeah, you're not even
Beautiful.
drinking.
Beautiful.
I'm sick, man. I'm sweating. I'm not the
Second time on the show that you've been sick.
Got the flu game.
Yeah, flu
This
game.
is-
we won't
it
call you
feels like
piss
that.
boy.
It's true. That's
I haven't
my
gotten outside of
title.
my seat. I
We'll
don't
call
know if
you
I'll make
shit
it
your
back.
pants boy.
I don't know if it's that.
But
Cut. Potty talk.
potty
that.
talk. Woo-hoo-hoo. I do really. We've already talked about this a little bit in the previous chapter, but the idea that there is this national identity of KCON, right? That's represented. We talked about it as it's represented in Espenia on the ground level. Now we get to see it from the upper level, the upper crust of the government, and the way that they think about them as well. And thus, like the way that KCON is tied to Jade and the war in Oortokon. And that makes incredible sense. And it makes them look like weapons dealers in international eyes because they're effectively, the clans have been kind of dealing to both sides in a very duplicitous way. So
Well, the
it makes
mountain
for,
has.
right. But No Peak's been dealing to
Peak's
Espenia.
been doing the same
so-
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
But not playing both sides. Right?
the mountain's
Well, the
just playing
clans
the other
actually-
side.
Right. Officially, no trading was allowed during that time,
Yeah.
as far as I'm understanding the situation.
They
They,
were
were
both
like,
breaking
hey,
the
we
rules.
gotta,
But isn't the
if
mountain
we don't want
kind
to get
of
invaded.
giving stuff to Egatan and Espenia? Or is that not right?
Just
No.
Sort of, insofar that officially Espenia is the only trade partner that we know of with
Yes.
Jade.
Right.
And
With the
they're
KJ.
on the yes, exactly, but not like they're
Not
not
under the
underhandedly
table.
The
dealing
under
with
table
both.
stuff.
Yeah, they're
was
only
Ugandan. Yeah,
yeah.
Yutan.
But so, like you're saying, this like national warrior identity is kind of placed on this weapon that's being dealt. You know, we've equated it to a drug. I equated it to weed earlier as a bit, but it's definitely more of a weapon. It's definitely treated as such, and that's why they think of this as the Jade War. There's the proxy war, which I just think is kind of a delicious. I mean, it's again historical time period. It fits with kind of our estimation that we made early on. You know, what if Vietnam, but we were arming both sides? More similar to the Korean War. And yeah,
For whatever reason, I am just imagining, because of the parallels that we've drawn to it as a drug, and Espenia as, like, we'll call it the United States for this scenario. Do you think there could be any sort of Jade-based MK Ultra?
I hope so.
One would assume. One would assume.
Or just like secret operations by the Espenian government to
Make Delta 8.
induce jade fever on unsuspecting populations. Wow. To drive up the demand for jade.
Amongst whom?
Not the Kekanese population, because they could handle it.
I
But
like, wouldn't that be? That'd be a very effective way to destabilize Tayton, because it has like a sort of very rigid structure of who gets Jade and who doesn't.
Mhm.
And so if you were like, hey, everybody should have, like, they did a little like socialist Jade revolution going on, that could be
Yeah.
fun.
I was thinking if they like powderized jade and put it in the water supply of like
All right.
a medium-sized
Okay,
town.
Jaker.
Put
All right, PJ.
tinfoil hat on, PJ. That's not the type of conspiracy corner
Scarecrow.
we deal with here.
Turned into a Batman villain.
Very suddenly. Yeah, I mean, I again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the way this chapter ends with that final authority discussion of like her being the badass, the queen badass, no one can fucking mess with me. We don't care what the pillar says. Also, Hilo would resent being here to begin with. He can talk
that
to
was
you.
funny.
Yeah, like he'd rather do anything else.
Anything else but this.
Other than-
Trust me, you want to be talking to me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hilo
I
will
might
just kill
send
you.
right. Ooh.
And also, like, just a great look for No Peak. I feel like that they have that, like it's not a power struggle, but like everybody has their role and is comfortable in it and is like empowered to perform the utmost response, like their responsibility to the peak of what it could be.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Do we know who their betters are? These two men? Like, what rank are they
president.
in?
It's an ambassador and a colonel. And the colonel is like the guy that's running the military outpost. That's
And
right by
cooking the fried chicken.
KCON.
PJ.
Nice, PJ. Nice.
King Sanders.
I have a question for y'all.
Yes, Thomas.
Is the ambassador good at his job, or is he just a
Terrible.
Nepo hire?
Yeah. He was very bad.
We don't know who he's related to, but probably a Nepo
Well, I
baby.
meant not Nepo purely, but like he donated a ton of money to the premier, and then all of a sudden now he's ambassador.
Yeah.
By the way,
It
Thomas,
seems like
that term is offensive to,
people who benefited from nepotism.
yes.
Yeah.
The Nepo babies.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think they're okay.
Everyone benefits from
Everyone in
nepotism and laughs
Succession is
about it.
doing fine.
But like, it's just interesting because like, obviously Takon seems to like, it should have been an important ally all along, or at least for the Jade reason.
Right.
And he's like, this guy gave me a lot of money. He can be the
And
ambassador.
he doesn't
there.
know anything about it. Yeah.
Real world parallels, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Who could say?
Yeah, definitely the parallels there. The final thing that I wanted to remark upon this chapter was the trade that is actually made, right? And this idea of gift that's given, and sort of the expectation that this is not information that you're purchasing. This is something that I'm wanting honored in a trade, in a
Future
trade agreement,
favor.
effectively. Yeah. I want you to open this up so that we can do work and our companies can expand into other territory. And this is,
Right.
I think, the most schemy Shay's ever been.
Yes. I love how she kind of stepped around that.
Sneaky, right?
And like them offering the money like multiple times kind of. And she's like, yeah, I could accept this money, but she like deftly
She, like, sat back and thought
made
about
through
it.
that. Yeah. Like worked through that with them. And so that they weren't like offended, but at the same time, they're like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
I think
try it.
I think they are.
We'll see.
I think they are way more uncomfortable with like a open-ended favor that may or may not be passed by their superiors than like I think they'd be more comfortable with a one-to-one exchange. Oh, here's info, here's
Right.
money. We're done. We don't
Transactional.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they probably feel a little indebted now to her.
But she like took that burden off of them where she's like, that's all you have to do. You just have
Just
to mention
bring
it.
it up.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And so
have to
that was,
happen.
I thought that was well done. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty expertly done on the part of Fonda Lee here, and she's done similar things in the past, and I can't call upon exactly what I'm remembering, but I know that something like this has happened before. But the fact that she very expertly explained the gift thing the chapter before when they were talking about the jade or the green tea kettle
Mhm.
as the gift, and like got a little bit of that like initial explanation of the gift giving custom before getting into this like very important plot device.
It's not
She-
quite a
gift.
Chekhov's gun, but it is similar to Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
PJ does that all the time, and it's so cool. Like here's a little nugget, boom,
Pays
explosion.
off.
It pays
Yeah.
off.
Breadcrumbs, baby.
She's
Just like
really
the city of
really
Alexandria.
good at that. That's me.
Sometimes
him.
the two of you say shit and I have no idea what you're talking about.
No,
That's okay. I do that on purpose.
You ever heard of the wonders of
I
the
try
world?
not to.
I've been to a lot of them. Have you?
You've been to way more than I have, which is to say 0, 2.
I don't even know what the wonders of the world are. Great Wall, maybe. That's about the only one I can think of.
I have.
Really?
There's
walked
natural
on the Great
wonders
Wall.
and there are created
Yeah,
wonders.
there's
so they're
natural wonders and
human-built,
man-made wonders.
which are important.
I'm
It's all
both.
propaganda.
All right.
Yeah, PJ's
Jesus,
a natural.
Colossus, Hanging Gardens,
He's
Lighthouse, Mausoleum,
No, he
said
he
Statue
is
Zeus,
both.
Temple,
Painting Gardens of Babylon.
Add
which
PJ to
obviously
the
no one has
list.
visited. PJ is a
Nobody
wonder of the
visited
world.
Library
I've
of
seen.
Alexandria.
I am the cross section of the Venn diagram of the natural and created wonders of the world.
Right.
You're,
So
the
Oh,
ninth, you're the
natural.
ninth wonder of the world.
speaking of 9, chapter 19
Hey.
Wow.
in Liban.
Good job.
Great work.
Wow.
That was good.
Thank you. The pillar and pillarmen of Nopeet arrive in Steppenland and immediately proceed to Annie's house, pick up, to Annie's house to discuss the future of young Nicolas. Despite every effort by Hilo, Annie remains opposed to the idea of returning to Janloon with her son, and just when things appear to be heading towards a head, her boyfriend Lors returns home. Loris seems much more open to the idea of Nito spending part of the time in Janloon, and he dominates the conversation despite Amy's attempts to quiet him. Hilo, Tar, Amy, and Loris agree to reconvene in 3 days to discuss further their situation over dinner.
Okay, first, where do we think that Steppenland is? Like, where does it line up?
Okay, but
That's
first,
great.
before your first is Steppenland reminds me of the Mary Poppins song with the chimney sweep. Step in time. It's like the tap number.
Oh yeah, yep, it is.
Find it. Step in
Yep.
time. Step in time.
Mhm.
And okay, now your first point
Where do you think it's at?
on the map.
A lot
I
of
mean,
theories.
just like
Oh,
It's
the
equivalent.
parallels.
Yeah.
parallel, yeah. I
Mild
got Nordic
weather.
vibes.
Right, the accent's very Nordic in the book. A little Nordic, actually. I don't know why I said very.
Oh
That's
yeah,
overstated.
the
Like a Sweden,
boyfriends.
Norwegian type situation.
Lor-
Yeah,
and
but he's also
Lars-
speaking.
Lars reminds me of Lars and the Real Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie.
About a man fucking a sex doll.
No, it's his girlfriend.
It is his girl.
But Lars sounds Nordic. I know it's Lars, but
It's close.
Liban made me think Lisbon, which made me think Spain or Portugal or Spain.
Oh.
But that doesn't, nothing else
Given-
really equated to that.
The red-headed nature, I was somewhere between Ireland and the Nordic, like somewhere in that reach of the European cultures.
I think very clean airport and also lures of it all points to Nordic.
points to IKEA.
I really enjoyed Lors.
Yeah.
Affable guy.
He
Little
was great.
It
misogynistic,
sucks
but
that Tar is going to kill him.
I know. I felt bad.
He's
that
a little
gonna
bit of
get
a piece of
murdered.
shit, but he's an acceptable piece. There are worse people in the world for sure. He's like, I
Hilo
love
said-
taking my foreign wife home as like this souvenir.
Little pat on the
And
ass.
that's a little.
that
that's
that
a little.
part was a little gross. Yeah.
That was
My
very
best
gross. It's the
souvenir.
worst thing he said.
We're
Sorry.
getting ahead. I think that was, he's speaking in his however many languages he speaks, probably a bunch. He's speaking in a different language. He calls her a flower. I think
I
it's
don't
like
know.
a bit.
Yeah.
He's trying to do a bit, but it's like,
But it's a bad bit.
it's a little too rehearsed. It's a little
Right.
like, okay, it's not that
and
funny, my
in
dude.
his defense, I'm sure he can feel the like horrible tension. And Amy's over here like, don't kill Lors.
I
don't
felt
kill
like he
him.
couldn't
He's like,
feel the
don't
tension
say
at
something
all.
dumb.
He was so
I also
like,
got that vibe.
yeah,
Like once Hilo started talking, he was like, "Oh, this guy's cool."
yeah.
Like,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
new friend. Yeah, I'll send my
sorry I
stepson
stole your brother's
off,
wife.
whatever.
Hilo.
So okay,
I don't want to
there's
get
a lot
ahead.
of
I
lore
don't want to
stuff
get
going
ahead.
on.
Yeah.
We are getting
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
I guess just so we can skip lores and talk about them, like just finish it up now. I did think the whole thing is like, oh, he's one of ours. Like, I don't. Families are messy. He's my son. I don't
Yeah.
care. And then he's like, although, wouldn't it be the end of the world if he's out of here for
Yeah,
half
exactly.
the year? We're going to be raising our actual kids. And he's pretty colicky now that you mention it.
I don't know. He was like oblivious to the Hilo thing, so that part I enjoyed. I did not like the taking my foreign bride home thing. Was kind of icky. It was majorly icky. But
Do you think he whittles those like statues of bears out of wood stumps?
I've got one of those, but it's
Yes.
an eagle.
he just
So-
seemed like one of those people that's like so like dumb, like they just are happy all the time, and they don't understand how terrible life
You're
is.
so right. Solid IQ of 90. Yeah. Just
I mean, it's
content.
like
I can't place it, but actually I can place it. Never mind. But he goes, oh, no. It's like he says it in the audiobook. The guy says it just like Sean Spencer in an episode of Psych.
I was gonna say,
Doing like when
what's
he's
his
pretending
butt?
to be
I'm
Norwegian.
frozen.
Yes, it's
That
the
too.
shop dude
Yes.
from Frozen.
Yes,
it's
that
it's
too.
the
That
same
is
guy. Same guy. Aaron, I'm so with you. I was going to say that. I'm so glad you did.
Yoo-hoo.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Summer boots on sale. I don't know what he's. I have seen
It's
it.
very
Your
similar.
nephew on
I'm
sale.
not a child.
You're at your nephew for free 50% of the time.
yeah, and then I enjoyed
Maybe
just
more.
like him being like, well, that actually sounds pretty great. We could get rid of him for a while. It's like we have our own kids.
Who knows? He could have come home lit from work. He does stay at work late, apparently. He's having a
I
great
don't know.
time.
He just, I don't know. He came off to me as like very oblivious and
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely an airhead.
yep. But you kind of like
Yeah.
just pat him on the head. You bless your heart
Mhm.
type situation.
And
Definitely
like, really,
blows your heart.
Amy, you picked this goon
Yeah, Amy.
goofball over.
Yeah, I don't.
For Alon?
She's tough. Even though, yeah, we'll get to it. But
Okay. So Hilo and Tar drop by. Obviously, bringing Tar, weird choice. He learns from it in the subsequent chapter. He notices she seems to be expecting someone. And then later on, he's like, target drained. She seems a little nervous about that too. I was wondering if that stood out to anybody, if maybe you had some conspiracy corners about that. Maybe you were like, obviously she's nervous, nothing to read into.
I took that as her being nervous that Tar would go like back to where the baby is, because she knows how fast green bones are. Because she's like,
okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I...
Yeah, I took it as like a normal jumpiness. And her expecting someone, I think she's thinking Lore's is going to
coming home. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense as well.
Why?
Especially because he comes so quickly.
Yeah, like after, yeah.
It's because green bones are typically violent.
I didn't reread Jade War right before we did this, like I did Jade City. And so I forgot what was going on. And I was like, ooh, what's up with that? So I was wondering if it stuck out to anybody else.
It's definitely suspicious, for sure. And you can understand Amy's reaction throughout this entire scene to everything that's going on. She genuinely thinks that her child is going to be taken from her in this moment. And Hilo is not trying to do that at all, to his credit. He is actually trying to negotiate something that's reasonable for the family. And
reasonable
I think
in Hilo's mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure like it's that reasonable.
It's not that unreasonable.
It's bad shit.
It's hard to
as the divorced kid of the podcast. This is very
Just
reasonable.
Give me your kid, but like
so
50% of the time, even though his dad's dead and I'm just the uncle.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I think you needed to let it go.
I didn't think it was reasonable.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that you're broken, Cross.
I think it's
You're not wrong.
So I think part of it is
and then you start laughing like that.
I think part of it is like the breakup of everything too. So like Cross and I feel like when we were at this point, we're very attached to Hilo, and so we're like, of course, what he's thinking, it makes sense. We like this guy. Like we're giving him more benefit of the doubt.
I mean, I can
you sit with your thoughts and stew on them for a while.
Right. I can understand where he's coming from and like why he would want,
or why he thinks it's reasonable.
Yes, and why he thinks it's reasonable and why he wants that specific thing. But I don't think she owes him a damn thing.
True, for sure.
And like when she says, "I don't owe you a damn thing," basically, like he needs to just accept that,
not kill her.
Yeah. He came into this like a negotiation. Like he came into this like the pillar,
but
and he was looking after like the assets of the family.
Yes,
as opposed to like saying like, "Hey, we'd love for."
To have a relationship
Nico
with
to
him,
have exposure to his heritage.
Yeah.
We'll happily keep him for a few months a year. If you ever want to send him, like we'll house him, we'll teach him, we'll be with him, we'll show him around for any amount of time, but like not say, yeah, we're taking him for half the time, or you're moving here and you don't have a choice. So, like he doesn't have any leverage to do that.
Right. So PJ, what you're saying is like, because he does say those things, but he says it like, we'll do this, not, well, we would like to do this because
exactly.
It's almost passive aggressive in the way that it's put. Like the whole conversation is definitely
I'd say it's aggressive.
Well, I don't. Yes, it is aggressive, but it's all subtext. Like everything is subtext from Hilo. So it's like in the same way that passive aggressiveness is subtext.
So it's like I feel like he feels like, obviously he's being reasonable. He's putting her at ease and taking everything, but he doesn't understand that inherently his presence is a threat and that inherently every action he takes is violence.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm being chill, like I'm being mellow. Everything's cool. I'm asking,
just being
like I'm
there
saying
is
like
a violent act to her at that point. Yeah.
Which is what he's unable to understand about why she's immediately freaked out. He's like, hey, man, I'm just coming to talk to you.
His empathy stops at his understanding of the world. So, like, he can't even fathom why she wouldn't want to be in KCON.
Right. And not have him be a gangster.
He can't even, like, empathize with her because he can't even imagine a world where that would be okay.
Right.
To like stay where they are.
And I think even looking at his internal monologue about it all, he has no respect for her in the slightest. Like he mentions not having any intention of letting Lors into the clan, and then also says something along the lines of no self-respecting Greenbowed would ever touch her. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on in his head? Like,
Well,
where does he think that
Well,
this
I
is
think
going?
what Thomas said, like
Well.
or someone said he's collecting the assets. Like this
Jay,
is
just
yeah,
said that.
nailed it.
Yeah.
So also though, like, I think one thing we've seen. So depending on the person, Hilo is able to understand people sometimes, unless it's Andon, and in this case, Amy. But he sees to the heart of the matter very often, I feel like. And so, she's very shallow. She cheated on his brother. I think it'd be very hard for anyone in that circumstance to have a favorable opinion of her. And like rude to his wife, like she's dug herself a deep hole.
But
So I
she,
do get-
she doesn't
he's
owe-
overly
she
dismissive
doesn't
of her
owe
point of view.
Hilo anything.
Right. Like he has no excuse to be so dismissive of her point of
Right.
view when it comes to her child. I just understand why, from like understanding Hilo as we do, why he would think the way he does.
I can agree with that.
I can't imagine a scenario where he didn't go into this intending to spring this on her and intending for it to be a threat.
I don't
Because
So,
because
actually, I have a
of
question.
going in with Maktar and not sending a letter ahead of his arrival.
Okay, so I have a question based on that. In at least the Red Rising series, the narrators famously very unreliable, right? Do we think that is the case here at all?
Wait. Oh, you mean the main character perspective? Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Do we think we have unreliable narrators here? Because, like, if not,
yeah.
we can only go off of what we read Hilo's intentions are. And so, like, if he's not trying to be threatening, like, he
I think
believes
he
himself
just.
not trying to be
I
threatening.
agree. I don't think he understands the implied threat of just his presence sometimes. Like, especially in this situation. Like, I think he thinks he's in a foreign land talking to Lon's ex-wife. She's quote unquote family or was, like, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that he's understanding.
Reasonable. He's
Being
exactly
overly reasonable.
right.
even.
He thinks on his
Overly.
end he's being overly reasonable. Yeah, and like he doesn't understand that there's just an implied threat of his
Come to
presence
me.
there. Yeah,
I come
He's
to
not
you
Italian.
trying to take the child away from you. This is how you treat me on the day of my child's birth, or the day of the Oortokon War.
Doesn't even have the decency to call him the pillar.
Yeah, fair point. No, I think this chapter, again, I love the set of chapters specifically in this kind of like 3 or 4 chapter split because it puts so much pressure on Hilo. And I really think that Hilo was trying to do the right thing before we get him doing the
Hey,
most
Cross,
wrong
save that
thing.
thought.
We'll talk
Hey,
about
Cross,
it in a
save that
minute,
thought
but
because it's later.
No,
Here's the
I
thing,
just
though.
mean that I think that he was being very reasonable, trying to negotiate. I think this is the most reasonable version of Hilo that we've ever seen in a negotiation, ever.
yeah.
Up until
Going
this
in,
point.
he's trying, and yeah.
So
He's willing to accept literally someone that he was going to hunt down and kill into the
Right.
family and take them back actively.
Right.
and that
And the person that cheats on them. Like, that's crazy for Hilo.
Yeah, I would
that
agree.
is why this is my favorite chapter of this section, because he does so well, and it's like, oh my god, look at the growth for our guy. And then even initially in chapter 21, look at the growth for our guy. It seems like he's handling everything well, but then how that ends is so heartbreaking and so just like, what, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
This is who
in
we're
this,
dealing with.
I was still like proud of like the way Hilo was acting in this chapter, like
Proud because we know that he could go off at any time.
just because of what he used to be capable of,
Yeah.
and what like how much he's like holding himself back, and like
Mhm.
how like
But
like
still
Cross
not-
said,
he even
like
acknowledges
how
it.
reasonable he's trying to be, like how
says-
quote unquote reasonable he
Yeah,
thinks
Right.
he's being.
It's not reasonable by most people's standards, but it is by Hilo standards.
Yeah.
So,
And
Right,
though, also, what do we think did he run this plan by Shay? Because Wen obviously encourages him to do it.
Absolutely not.
Brings Tar with him.
I think you're right. But Shay knows.
Probably-
But Shay knows. So
Shay
like,
knows, but he
there's
did
a
not.
question.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And then it's like, should he have, like, obviously him and Shay both can't be out of the country, but like, I don't know. Could he have brought a woman with him? Should Wen have come with him? I guess she couldn't travel. She's very
She's,
pregnant.
like, very
but like,
young.
what are we doing here?
Blown up.
We're going to send
She's
probably
blowing
like,
up.
the two most threatening men in K-Con. We're going to be like, hey, we're here for your child.
We just want to meet the nephew.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
I'm curious if Shay would have a similar sentiment around having the child there.
I think she'd be more understanding that a mother doesn't want to just send her kid off.
Right.
Right, but the idea was for them to come back, like for Amy to come back too.
Mhm.
I don't know. That seems like so unreasonable. Like I just don't think she was ever going to do that. And I can.
Well, she might have
So
done that when she wrote the first letter, when Lon was
Well,
alive.
even what she says there as her explanation, that like as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Like
she was
Yeah.
feeling low. She was lonely.
exactly. Like
One thing I think maybe helps contextualize it, sort of, is this is a messy analogy, but last book we touched on that the Calls are a pseudo royal family. And so it's like, she has an heir to what could be the Pillardom, maybe, like someone in the midst, a high profile Greenbone, son of a son, like all the things that get laid out, what Nico is. And so I feel like it would make sense for them to be like, well, yeah, duh, he has to be raised, like, especially for, Greenbones love Greenbones. They love that they wear green. They love all that. Like, it made sense that he'd be like, yeah, why would he be raised with foreigners? We don't like them. Why would he not wear green? He's like a bad motherfucker. Like, what's up?
Also, he's a colicky
just-
kid, so naturally he's
Yeah.
inclined to war.
And yeah, prone to be more powerful Greenbone, as we learned. Good callback. What was the other thing I had?
The specific use of the word colicky, I think, is so well
Intentioned.
utilized. Yeah, across this.
Oh.
So
What did Lors? Lors had something to say.
Laura's had a lot to say, but a lot of it was
What the fuck
garbage.
was it?
90 IQ.
Hold on. This wasn't a
Bullshit.
garbage thing. Oh, he touches on when he's discussing, it's just his verbal vomit about everything, giving Hilo all the data. He's like, Amy, worried everyone's going to be ashamed of us, doesn't keep in contact with her friends or family from K-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Thought
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Yeah, he's clear. Like, why don't you tell him? Like,
Come on, babe. Yeah.
He doesn't get anything at all.
he has no
Elbow.
worries. Loris has no worries.
he's literally too dumb to worry. Like
But it's sad because like she's clearly trapped, well, maybe not trapped, but she's with a man who hasn't taken the time to understand fundamentally her culture.
right. Oh yeah, definitely.
And maybe she hasn't tried to explain it, but like it's just a tough look.
It is very. Yeah, he doesn't have a
Yeah,
lot to
they-
offer.
She's clearly though trying to like
I wonder if
forget K-Con and all the fighting
That's-
and
Mhm.
You're totally right. It's the difference between, okay, this is going into his own analogy. It's the difference between seeing her as a jewel and a piece of jewelry, right? So like a jewel is a thing that you set into something else and that you adopt into yourself. But a piece of jewelry is something that you are representing and taking on as like a full embodiment of whatever it represents aesthetically. So like he sees her more as an object versus a whole piece, a piece of art, a piece of culture. There's my metaphor. I had it at 3 Negronis, so we're there. You are. There you are. That's it. That's
Nailed it.
what you get from me.
You're not quite done.
Okay,
Take
man.
that back.
This is tequila, but
But
it's
that's
sipping
still your
tequila.
Negroni.
Yeah, no, the Negroni is
Um,
gone. I had an extra ounce, so it was 4, but we're fine. This is a show. It's the 420 show.
It's
so
Thursday.
it's true.
Mhm.
I don't have anything important
Um,
at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Yes, PJ.
I do want to push back a little bit on the idea that she wants to forget K-Con in general. She wants to forget her time as a call because she says that other friends reached out to her and told her about Lon.
Mm.
It wasn't the family, but like she has friends that are in the know on K-Con
Well, I think
that
that's
she's still in
in
contact
relation
with.
to the shame. It's in relation to the shame that she experiences. Yeah.
But I'm saying like she's not trying to completely abandon her home or her culture.
Mhm.
she's just trying to forget the calls specifically.
It's fair. All right. Do we feel good?
That's all I
on
got.
Chapter 19? Cool.
Yep.
I think
let's
we did a
move
good
on.
job.
It feels
exploring
good,
that.
but we did a good job.
All right. Chapter 20. Complications. We return to Shay and Marrow lying in bed and opening up to each other more and more about their lives and the potential future together. After, Shay heads to work and has a tough encounter in which Woon pours his heart out for display. Before the dust is fully settled on that conversation, Hami interrupts and we learn that war has broken out in Oortokon, that Ait and Stone have both addressed the nation in their own ways. This is, in many ways, a fascinating chapter. We get a lot on Marrow. We get a lot on sort of the war. We finally figure out like the background of what Woon really feels and how that's impacting him on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot. Where do we want to start?
Poor Woon Poppy.
Poor Woon Poppy.
Singing a different tune on all Woon, huh?
Poor little Woon Poppy.
It was kind of a sad boy wound moment.
I was like, oh, he's just a sad boy. He's not a spy.
Yeah. He's not even capable of being a spy.
He's just in
what a
love.
simp.
He's just a total simp. Yeah.
Yes. Absolute
I
simp.
did go from like he's the mastermind to like, aw, poor
Simp
little
He's just a
guy.
dude. Yeah.
Maybe that's part
Poor
of his
dude.
plan.
Does that mean Aaron has to take a shot? Is that a
Not
bet?
yet.
No.
Not yet. You gotta wait for it
Okay.
to pay off properly. Some of these are long bets.
She thought it paid
Unfortunately.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I-
was tough. Tough moment for Win.
Tough for Shay too.
it is
It's
tough.
like how
She didn't
how is she
deserve
supposed
that.
to do her job with all these thirsty men around
Right.
her?
I mean, she can't help being awesome. So it's like,
Do any of you
Why am so
And
hot?
hot.
yeah.
Yeah. Do any
What'd you
of
have,
you?
Thomas?
watch New Girl?
Oh yeah,
Or
Yeah.
have one? Okay. So like all of it?
more than
Okay.
once.
Enough.
Okay.
I
So,
cut my
in the
bangs
later seasons-
when it first came out. That's how much I
Oh.
liked it.
God bless. It just reminds me of a scene where like Winston's top partner Allie thinks he's gonna fall in love with her, and he's like, "Ain't nobody want your babies," and then falls in love with her.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know why. That's the parallel I got.
That's your
Woon was just
parallel?
like
Yeah.
down bad.
And
He
he's
was down
he's
bad
the
for sure.
I think we made like the side comment, and both I think it was Aaron that led this on, but like the falling in love with like your brother's friends, right? But this is like the reverse of that because he's a decade older. And it wasn't until they worked together at the very least, which is some good news, of course, on that side of things. But you know, of course he feels immediate shame as a part of that barrier.
Yeah, because he's supposed to
Lon
be
would ship
Lon's
it.
friend.
Yeah.
Not
Lon's
cool, bro.
dead.
Breaking
Don't
the
shit where you eat. Win.
breaking the bro code.
Do you think the like because we see the employees here, right? Do you think they're shipping it on like some of them are like, ooh, Woon and Shay, and they're like they got little betting pools,
Well, Hilo was.
or are they opposed to it?
I don't think
Yeah,
anybody,
the whole family kind of giggled about it.
I think everybody's making fun of Woon being fucking
Tough.
floating in the air
Simp.
with hearts above his eyes. Yeah.
Woon.
Following Shay around.
Shot with Cupid's arrow. Yeah.
Yes. And then Shay being oblivious to it. So I think that to me is the office gossip.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a shipping on Ship Street joke. That's all. That's all.
Oh, sorry.
Shipping Street.
Bit.
There's
That's
I mean,
better, PJ.
okay, so we've got Woon, we've got Hami. Who do we ship with Shay? And Marrow.
Hami isn't Hami married?
Sure.
got
But
a
let's just say
Hami doesn't. I don't think he likes Shay.
No, well,
Definitely not.
he lost
Holly.
respect for show.
yeah, he did. He
That was
definitely
tough.
did.
Tough moment.
It's a reflection of the moment.
I think Shay is with the man that she's supposed to be with right now.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Marrow continues to be a stand-up fella.
Love the honesty from him. You know, he's not afraid to
Yeah.
admit even that he's insecure.
Yeah,
Love that for him.
Love that.
definitely want to dive into that insecurity because we discovered the truth about Marrow that he himself is a half bone in massive quotes because, of course, that's used as like a derogatory term to refer to gangsters that are Shatarian, but he is a Shatarian.
Got some weak
Kicking
blood.
Yeah, blend. Yeah, I don't love that I said blend, but here we are. But he makes.
Are
like a
artisanal
wine
blend of
Yeah, it's like a
taurine and
Cabernet Cacon. Like
That's
what
the
the fuck
Negroni
am I
coming
saying?
through.
All right, so this is the
I
Negroni.
like drunk cross.
Yeah, well,
I'm not the liability this week.
I'm also
Ask him
not
questions.
yet a liability, so we're doing fine. Maintaining, managing, we're good. But I think that he also makes a great sort of juxtaposition against Andin because they have sort of opposite notes given their bloodline, which even Shay brings up, and the differences in the way that they've accepted their heritages and even like chased them down, the way that they've approached them. Andin actively denounced and did not want to go to Uspenia despite being exiled. Meanwhile, Marrow has actively sought out his younger sisters.
Right, and
Like
it seems like he got something positive out of it.
Seems like maybe Marrow's a little smarter than Andin.
Right.
Also older. Hey, let's not
Yeah, also
let's
older and
back
wiser,
up. He's
yeah.
older.
Also,
I would agree.
he has a PhD.
He didn't
And
find
in
out until
constantly-
later in life.
Andin constantly points out how dumb he is himself. So,
Well,
I think we can give Marrow credit for being smarter.
Andin may do that,
I
but
went down like a
I
lead
don't
balloon.
know. He still needs more. I don't know.
He needs hugs. He needs some love.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to start in.
That
I
boy-
can't start back in on Andin.
That boy Woon should go join Andin in Uspenia and get the fuck out of town.
Oh my
We
god.
should start
Sad
smoking
boy
some sapes.
union. Yeah.
Just at a
Fallout
bar.
wound. Yeah.
I was in love once.
Composed of Corey, Woon, and Andin.
Yeah.
Hey, Corey seems fine.
Imagine like that story of like, hey, Woon, why are you still in this job like 20 years later? Oh, I tried to resign, but then war broke out during the conversation.
Also, I
You
had
know
the
what I mean?
hots for my boss.
Yeah. I was so sad about the hots for my boss. I had
Does
to
he-
quit.
I had a question
That was down bad.
about this. So he leaves with her, right? And doesn't he drive her home?
Woon? Or, sorry, Marrow?
Woon, yeah. Wasn't that like he
Oh,
always left with her and
Marrow
drove her home
always
as
drives
normal?
her home. Yes, that was
Yeah.
the thing. for
Woon
previous
drives her home,
weeks.
right? Not
Woon
Marrow.
stays
Yes,
late
Woon.
to drive
Okay,
her
you said
home.
Marrow. That's what.
That
Right.
shouldn't
And then, but like,
die.
is he driving her to Marrow's house?
No, I
No,
think
she's
he's driving
taking
her
the
to
train.
Tall Estate.
She's
That would
taking the
suck.
train.
Thank you. I missed
That
that.
would have sucked so
I
bad.
was like,
No.
just, she's like,
But
does
she
he smell
smells.
him on me?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that moment
She
in the
smells
morning.
like dank.
Stank.
Then a shower. I need to hear a shower.
That the university, God, what's it called? University Jan something or other stank.
Janloon Academy.
Oh,
Royal Academy.
Maybe
Janloon Royal Academy.
Yep, Royal Academy. UJA stank. So obviously, I brought up the sisters, of course, and the heritage. Did you guys have any thoughts on the way the Marrow approaches that, or the siblings that he has, like the love they're in? I mean, obviously, we saw it previously in previous weeks, but did you guys have any thoughts on the way that he thought about his heritage and his father?
I thought it was great that he embraced it. I don't know. It feels like, I don't know. It just made him seem like very real as a character.
Yeah.
Like somebody that's like going through something and like has had complicated feelings about it and has worked through those and like is still working through some of them, but has had something really positive coming out of it with his
And
nieces. And
It's,
I think that's cool.
I think it's cool that it's clearly such a big part of who he is, and he's wanting to share that with Shay,
Yeah.
just showing their increased levels of intimacy.
Right. The amount of the amount that he's showing himself to her at this point is cool. Like that's their relationship is deepening. Good to see.
I'm really hoping, and I want to believe that it is just this natural progression of open honesty, and like this is the right time to share all of this information. And I'm hoping it's not a play at being or seeming more open and catching her off guard. Like I hope it's not some subterfuge plot.
Are you in a conspiracy spiral?
I don't know. Yeah.
Seems like it.
Yeah, I am.
Like, why is he being so honest? He's up to something.
I don't know. For whatever reason, it struck me as out of place, but also we
They've been fucking.
It's been months. They've been together for months, and it's just been some time jumps, and we haven't like gotten to see the full progression of their conversations, and we see like major points,
Right.
which makes sense and is fine. It's just tickling that sort of like too much good information and too much open honesty.
What could have
and, like,
been going
too
on
much
in the background?
presenting himself in the way that he needs to be presented for whatever reason.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that's not the
Conspiracy
case.
Corner. Do you
Sure.
want to make a bet?
No, I don't.
Does Aaron feel like making a bet?
No, I was trying to catch PJ in a bet.
All right.
I'll take it. You know what? I'll do it.
It's had just enough weed and alcohol to take a bet.
So basically, your bet
Fuck
is
it, we
that
call.
Marrow's a bad
Is-
guy.
Not necessarily a bad guy. I think Marrow has ulterior motives for this relationship with Shay.
He's a bad guy.
This is against Aaron. Yes.
And I think Marrow is who he is, who he says he is.
I think he's a genuine good boy.
He's a good boy.
Okay. All right. It's taken down in the logs. We've got Marrow as a bet between you guys. We are not partaking in this one, so we'll punish ourselves if we feel like it, but like we're not, you know.
We should add like a weird chant every time we make a bet with like
Bet.
Like cowbell.
Bet. Anyway,
Workshop it. We'll workshop
Yeah.
it. That
yeah, that was
burner,
very
that one.
creative.
I have the sound editing permission, so I'll make it work. It'll be fine. We'll put in
He'll
the...
re-record an entire fucking song
You
along
have
with like accompaniments.
I was
I...
thinking
sound
more
editing
like a-
permission
like
on your
a-
own podcast.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
I was thinking more like a "Here lies the bet," where we all agree on the bet.
I was thinking like White
like an
Lotus.
oath or something?
yeah.
I was thinking like White Lotus theme intro style and sacrificial sort of thing. Yeah, of course. All right,
Sorry,
just to end the chapter because we're practically there, but the very end of the chapter, outside of we skipped over like the nipple licking and some of the attractive shit that happens between Marrow and them.
Whoa,
And, like
whoa,
that's
that was
Thomas'
not
very-
mom
attractive.
listens
It's-
to this.
hey, it's cute.
That was not
It's
attractive. I'm
attractive.
out.
How dare you? I think it's great. I think that it's well incorporated
more of a
into a real conversation.
Nipple flick, tongue flick.
It was a tongue
I
flip
thought-
on the nipple, and then it was an ass grab, and like it was all
I
very
thought that
good.
part was cute. That part was cute. The nipple
Was-
licking I did not appreciate.
Well-
You're an ass man.
Well, he also
So
grabs
we
her
know,
breast.
we really want to impress
grabs
Ross.
her
He just has
breast.
to lick his nipple a little bit.
All right. So much. You're done, back. Where do
I'm
we
going
want
to
to
get
start?
Thomas on the record on that.
Nipple play
Aaron's
cross.
questions.
Yeah, Aaron,
I feel like
repeat your
I've been
question
on the
for
record.
Thomas.
Said Thomas, it sounds like you're an ass man.
Scholars have argued, you know. Just to say.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, no. The hi, Mom. It's going to kill me forever.
Words of which contains adult content.
Specifically not for our moms, despite the fact that I know that my mom also listens to every episode. I've stopped caring. You want to hear the butt plug conversation? Subscribe to Patreon, Mom.
You got to pay for it.
Got to pay for it, just like everybody else.
Yeah. No, but I love the way that it just feels naturally intimate and it feels great. And then we obviously, I just want to make sure that we didn't skip that. We don't have to talk about it, but I love that happens and it feels natural. And I think a lot of stories miss that out from a writing perspective. I honestly flashed to like Pierce Brown, like, God damn it, what I wouldn't give for a Mustang and Darrow scene that is not identical, but similar in the way that they would share their affection for each other. But that said, I do love the way that this ends with Ite and Sone's addresses. What do you make of their dualistic approaches to the way that they approach the nation as Gold and Jade?
I think Ite's on it, and she's politicking and winning both sides of this.
I thought her address was really good. The Sone's was very political, just like very playing both sides of the situation. But yeah, I feel like was like she connected with the people. The fact that she was able to get like no peak men to like cheer to what she was saying, that's pretty impressive.
Fuck those guys.
And they're like,
Yeah. Fuck them.
I mean, it can. I have a hard time faulting them for it, though.
Yeah, she was speaking to
Like,
the heart.
Right.
and speaking about external conflict. Like, it's almost like it kind of dissolved that inherent hatred between the tribes.
It was a green bone issue, not an inherent mountain or no peak issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Good on her for it. But it's definitely fuel for
A flame.
her argument of joining the clans, because that seems to have started to bubble back up after last week.
Cool. Love that. Punctuating the whole thing. So,
Cross, let me just say something quick.
of course.
Give you a lot of malarkey coming from me towards you, and it's not going to
Always.
stop anytime soon. But let me just say, love the way you framed that last question. Good job by you.
Well, thank you.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
It did only because you typically deal backhanded compliments as jokes. So I appreciate it though, because that felt I can understand that it was genuine. So
It was genuine. I always
we're in the
compliment
clear.
my
We're in the
people
clear.
when I compliment everybody. Whenever y'all make good points, I shout it out.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think that just speaks to how infrequently we make good points.
Yeah, I was like, where's my compliment?
How infrequently I make good points, I
I
guess.
complimented Aaron like 10 minutes ago.
That's because
Yeah, she deserves it all the time,
best
though.
buds.
Well, I can't be overpraising.
Aaron
because then
calls
it's
the
not gonna
rest
be
of us
real.
out on our shit at any moment, ad nauseum. Ben laughs hysterically when we get called out on our shit.
Ben is, let me pay Ben a compliment, best podcast partner. Because here's the thing, he
I
sells
agree.
your jokes
We're right
phenomenally.
here.
Phenomenally.
He does all the work too.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying.
I can't help but like eat
I
my
just
own
meant, like,
paper
s-
right
like
here,
two-
which
two
is just
people.
filled with notes.
Listen, Crosby noting. I
Yeah,
never
I'm not
insulted your
doing.
noting.
Cross and Thomas are doing the work on this one.
I meant on. Yeah,
I
that
just
other
meant for like
podcast.
a conversation.
I appreciate you, Thomas. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay. Anyway,
I'm
that
gonna
Arnold
just
Palmer is
die.
really getting to your heart.
apparently. I'm just gonna
It's strong
die
three sizes.
alone without any friends. No one appreciated my work. We're gonna go into chapter 21, and Crossland is going to grab just a smidge more tequila.
Okay. Goodbye.
'Cause y'all hate me.
PJ is high.
We're talking in the third person.
This is
I was responding to you talking in the third person, dick.
energy is crazy. PJ's high. Cross is drunk. I'm dying. Ben and Aaron are responsible. What's happening?
We're drinking high
I
noon.
was gonna say I got a little toasty on
A Tootsie?
my toasty.
Well, yeah, I'm on my second. You're on
He's a
your
bit
third.
toasted.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I drank those 2 high noons pretty quickly.
It's
And
pretty
that
funny.
worked.
Thank you.
All right.
That, of course, brings us to chapter 21, Change of Plans. Shay phones Hilo with the news about the war, and Hilo declares that he and Tar have to return home. Despite the severity of the situation, he is determined to hammer out an arrangement regarding Nico's future, and so the pair head to Amy's home, only to find her preparing to flee, presumably the country, with Nico once Lors returns from home, or from work. When Hilo presses her, the pair argue, and she launches into an impassioned tirade about how the world perceives Jade. Crestfallen, Hilo asks to see his nephew one last time. Annie refuses, goes to comfort the crying child, and Hilo grabs her, using his channeling abilities to kill her. Hilo and Nikoyan return to Keikan, where 6 weeks later, Wen gives birth to a son, Tall Rulinshin. Tough chapter.
Disappointing.
I
Yeah.
feel like I was the
Heartbreaking.
Steve Carell gif from The Office where he's just like, no! I was doing that though. I
And
was
what-
just-
The minute he walked in to the unlocked door, I was like, he's going to kill her.
yeah, I was
It's the framing of it, you're like, ah.
Yeah.
You noticed they
Dumb
hadn't
them.
locked their doors.
It's so fucking sad.
So disappointing.
Like,
There's a lot
I'd
going
rather
on.
steal this child than let him have his mother.
Ugh.
And then when the baby's like,
Ooh.
Mama,
There's just
Mama.
really no way to justify it. It's like
Oh,
you can't,
no.
not a single
You know,
second
And
of
it
it.
was premeditated as far as
Yeah.
I could tell.
Yeah.
Or at least it wasn't like he did it in a fit of passion.
Right.
It was cold blooded
Like-
for sure.
For sure.
The only thing that I would add in terms of thought processes on the top end of this is he wasn't of this mind to kill her until he saw the bags. And that's when it seems to shift, where it's like, oh, you weren't even going to entertain the dinner for the conversation.
Mhm.
Like, I was being reasonable.
He's like, I'm groveling and...
Yeah, I don't think he went over to the house with premeditated murder on the mind, but like, as soon as he opens the door, it's like, this is going down.
I think he was planning to spend like hours there into the night as long as needed to hammer it out and leave in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, things change, gotta adapt.
I'm just so disappointed.
And it's not like she
tough.
was a bad mother or abusing the child or anything. There's like no redeeming.
Just a mom.
Yeah.
Which
and
I think,
not that abusive mothers deserve to be channeled into and murdered, but
there's
you
not
can't
like,
even be like
well,
at least the kid's safer now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think
kid's
is
definitely not safer.
It's brilliant writing because there's no outs.
Right.
And it'd be so easy for her to have given him an out. Like maybe Lors was abusive.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things she could have done. And
like he's rescuing the child from a situation. Yeah.
No, Hilo's clearly the bad guy.
He still thinks he is rescuing the child from that situation, I would argue.
And that's exactly. And that's what's tough.
And I genuinely believe that he went into this planning to kill her and take the kid because of a few different things. The fact that he decided to just go in to begin with, and the fact that he had a plan set already for swapping. Like, who would have thought about this after like unexpectedly killing somebody, or even like just coming across this plan to change the names on the plane tickets? And like, he had a plan for everything that Mektar had to do after this. Like, he had this shit down.
So he kills people often.
Good point.
Second, Tar already keyed up the changing the flights. So he was already thinking we'd have to change flights. And then he was like, let's transfer tickets. 9/11 doesn't exist in this world. Pretty easy to transfer flights, I'm imagining. You know what I mean? It's not as involved a process as we're thinking.
What about just going into the house?
Sketchy move. He did it last time too, basically. He rolled up. He rolled up
I
uninvited.
think I agree with Cross. I
think
think it's the moment he steps in.
When he sees the bags.
Yeah.
It says he goes cold.
Right.
With
He
understanding.
was fine until that moment.
Yeah.
But he's not consciously planning to kill her before that, but we all know
But like, he's definitely
that he's going the only way to get his way.
It's not unheard of.
The only way to get his way is to get rid of Amy, and we know that Hilo has to get his way.
It was definitely always on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Delineation between like fully premeditated versus something that was like, this is the final checkbox where it's like, you're not going to.
I don't know. Like, I think it was always on the
it's
table
like murder
to the
two.
extent.
It's not like murder one. I feel like
murder two, murder one. Yep.
Yeah.
Which think manslaughter is basic murder three, right? But anyway,
manslaughter is like killing, basically, right? Kind of with like some intention, bad negligence involved, that type of thing. Yeah.
I'll ask our lawyer.
So I think that it was always on the table to the extent that he probably hadn't even actually thought about it, because it's just like inherently on the table.
Exactly. I would agree
wasn't
with
even
that.
a consideration because it was obvious.
Yes. Like it was always on the table because that's who he is, and like and he flew all the way out here. Like he wasn't going to leave without
him going
his child
out there
in some way, like some deal. Exactly. Like
he did say he referred to the disappointment that like he'd feel disappointed for if he came back empty-handed.
Right. I don't necessarily
you think Wen's happy about what happened?
I don't know. That was what was so weird at the end there. But yeah, I don't think it's like
Wen meeting
right.
That would have been sick, but who knows?
I don't think it was like
Fonda.
I'm going out here, and if I'm going to kill her. Like, it's not like that, but it was always on the table, no matter what. Like he was coming back with some kind of agreement for the child, like one of the he was just not going to go all the way out there and come back home with nothing at all. So I think he always knew.
Meme.
Yeah,
I'm leaving here with something.
Yeah.
For me, I think the moment it changed, I think it starts obviously with he walks in and they're clearly planning to flee. It's like, okay, no matter, even if we were to agree to something, I can't trust her. So like, unacceptable to him. Line, big no-no. Number 2, I think that once he sees from his perspective how lost she is with that tirade against, as he says, my father who died for our country, even like she did some low blows in. And I think the fact that
she calls him like
it still remains an impassionate murder really just speaks to like it's like both a kind of a good look, because it's like, okay, he didn't fly off the handle and kill her because she said some stuff to him, but it's like it's crazy that he could just kill her but without it raising his pulse.
He does
basically
kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, in these types of matters where it's like this type of thing where it's like so important and so intertwined with like the clan and that kind of thing, like all of that to him doesn't raise his pulse, because that is what it is. It's just
he's doing his duty.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So skipping back to before the murder, there is some interesting Hilo stuff going on. Obviously, there's the parallels between Hilo and Nico. Both lost their father at a young age without ever knowing them. There's a very sad part. Let's see. So I have a quote here. Like Nico, Hilo had lost his father when he was not even a year old. From all the stories he'd heard of Tal Dusharan, Hilo had always imagined he would have gotten along with his father, certainly better than he'd gotten along with his grandfather. Nico would never know his father either. Perhaps it was because he was soon to become a parent himself that the thought caused Hilo to grieve for his elder brother in a way that he had not been able to 2 years ago, when war and vengeance and survival had been paramount in his mind. And so, obviously, I feel like that can get lost because of how horrible Hilo is later in the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But that part to me was just so heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
So he finally grieves his dead brother, and just from all the stories he'd heard of Tal Dusharan, Hilo had always imagined he would have gotten along with his father.
Right.
That's just so sad.
Yeah, all the things that are hitting him in that moment, like so many emotions.
Mm-hmm.
He's mourning the future that Lon didn't get to have.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's also thinking about
his life,
his own relationship that he could have had with his dad. Like, it's just, there's so much there.
It's sad.
Yeah.
You think maybe he'd be like, maybe, there's some merit to this, live fast, die young.
Live fast, die young.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also in that a little interesting character study for our guy Tar. He is very childish, I felt like, in his attempts to cheer up Hilo. And then directly contrasting that is we get he's in Steppenland, a foreign nation, doesn't speak the language. He's tailing lures. He's fucking making local connections for business dealings. Like, there's the duality of Tar on full display here as well.
Tar is a
hey,
person.
boss, you want some candy? It's pretty crazy, right?
Look at these guys' weird hair.
Yeah.
Tar is funny.
Yeah, I liked him. In this section. You don't really get a ton of his personality before this.
And how Hilo's like, you gotta stay in the car because you're scary. He's like,
yeah, he's like, what?
What do you mean?
I'm scary. Poor Tar. Like Cross alluded to in chapter 19 and touched on, there's also like the beauty and horror of how well Hilo handles everything until the moment he doesn't. So I'm just curious, like,
I don't know if there's beauty. It's not. I don't feel like he handled it that well. Just like well for him.
Yeah.
Well for him, yeah. It's a lot of character growth.
C-.
That's what's so tough about the entire thing is just like we've seen Hilo turning, the page and like turning over a new leaf and coming into his own, and then to see him just like backslide like this so quickly is difficult. I'm having a real hard time squaring it. Like hard to cheer for Hilo.
Just like the Andon chapter. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, this
Stop
is
it.
way worse, but yes.
Stop it. Stop doing that.
I like that Andon did that, to be honest with you guys.
What did you say?
I like that Andon did that. I was feeling real sick when that was going on, that conversation, so I didn't say it, but I like that Andon fought dudes.
Anded's
for
moment
him.
feels better than Hilo's does for sure in this
Obviously,
one.
like
Yeah.
That's
his
fair.
was
But it's
worse.
a woman in cold blood.
I'm not even trying to compare the murder or otherwise. It's the sort of loyalty to the culture that feels better in the moment. So for me, it's like, of course, Anded misunderstands this, but Hilo actively knows what he's doing. And so I think that's the difference for me between the two.
Okay,
But
that makes sense. But I mean, Hilo is being just as loyal to the culture
in
his eyes.
in
his eyes, for sure.
Yes,
I just like,
and he's also like fucking up.
I just have such a hard time. Yeah, like he's tearing apart
I
this
just meant
family,
as the argument.
murdering two people. He's probably going to lie to this child for the rest of their life, like about what happened. And
can't wait
they're
for
never going to know.
Nico's,
And then
trauma.
he's starting this whole thing over again about like people without a father and
Yeah,
bad boy shit.
That's
It's
where
just like,
that's where I'm coming up with this. Like he had a stand-in father figure.
yeah,
Yeah, they
Established.
were
Exactly.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to go on his soapbox and like complain about fatherless children.
It's
Like he just caused that.
Yeah.
Like yes, technically Lon is his father, but Lors
has been there the whole time.
yeah.
there the entire fucking time.
For 2 years. Man, this is brutal. Bring Bingham in to talk about our bringing. But yeah, no, I have a tough time. The thing that gets me out of all of the moments, and I know that we've talked a lot about this, is him actually rewriting his name. I think is the one that hits me the hardest, is changing it from Nicolas to Nico Young.
Wild.
Like in that
How he's like,
moment,
Close enough.
it's a perfect Cantonese name.
fundamentally denouncing the
Yeah,
extended
just like an
family idea.
erasure. Yeah, of like
And not only that, but like the kid threw fits trying to speak Steppenish,
Mhm.
yeah.
and then he finally gave up because no one could understand. It's like so fun.
So sad. And just like
Pull Aaron.
the erasure of the mom
Thanks,
and just
Thomas.
like was tough.
Another compliment from Thomas. I'm gonna start making checks.
Get a gold
I
star.
have to dole him out more often.
Yeah, send me a sticker.
Yeah, this was just
This chapter
obviously
went better than I
content-wise
thought it
tough.
was going to go. Yeah.
Content-wise tough.
I was very afraid of anger and
But-
like overpouring of rage. But
I think we were very
all-
rational about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
The
not
way
even
that
like
the-
anger. I'm just like really disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm
So
hitting
you're
him.
worse-
It's
I'm
worse
hitting
than
him.
anger.
Not the
Right.
mad
I'm
dad.
hitting him with
Yeah.
the like, the parent
Not
thing where
mad.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brutal. Brutal.
Um,
But I've never been more upset myself in this moment than hearing him say that. I'm defeated. I'll do better next time. I swear. I promise. I promise.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I'll try. I don't know.
Three last things to touch on if Crossland's done monologuing.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay. So one of the things is, as I was alluding to, content-wise, tough chapter, writing-wise, brilliant chapter. The way that the death is written, so intimate. We get, again, that, like, the way the death energy blows back into him and he's bleeding. And he, like, remarks that she's so, like, peaceful and natural in death, which was very weird.
Even though
Well, it
she flings her
makes
head
sense.
back, and
Yeah.
breaks
Yeah.
her head on his teeth.
And, like, he adjusts her arms to look even more natural.
Mommy's
It's
just
just like
sleeping.
it was
And he
very
says she's
intimate
sleeping,
for the
yeah,
death
it's-
scene.
That's
Yeah.
fucked.
It was, there's a lot of disturbing stuff, obviously.
How do you think that would come up on an autopsy?
Thank you. That was my next point.
That same
because-
question.
Yeah. I think, especially because he, like, arranges her so peacefully, that what's he trying to make it look like?
Brain
Does he know
aneurysm.
what their
Aneurysm,
autopsy
maybe?
stuff is going on? Like, I wonder how the channeling physically impacts. Like, did he blow up her heart?
Yeah, it probably causes like not one blood clot, but like all a bunch at once.
That is an interesting
Mhm.
question. Yeah.
Or is it more like a seizure, like
maybe
a
it's the
energy to the
opposite
brain?
of the paddles.
And how familiar can Steppenland people be with this type of death? Like
Right.
they probably wouldn't even be able to figure it out.
Like electrocution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering, like, what is the aftermath of this? Like, family murdered,
Right.
child missing.
Yeah. and they'd have to know like the pillar of No Peak was in the country. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
But that's like
Was he
knowing the
flying as a private
Godfather
citizen?
is there. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Yeah, maybe not. I guess. Yeah.
We don't have his itinerary.
It could work.
Also, if
it's
this,
not-
I did look at the map for this one exclusively. Steppenland is pretty far away from
Right.
Katons. It's not
Yes.
like when they would go to the Uwean Islands.
I'm
It's
sure that
cross-tune.
KCON does not have a very robust extradition policy for
I would
members.
imagine.
For
Yeah,
the-
one would assume
One of
that the Golden Jade had protected that principle over
For one of
a
the
number
three
of
most
decades.
powerful
Yeah.
people in the country, it's probably like, you know what?
We're
we
good.
can't find him.
yeah.
That guy, he stays here. You can't get him. I'm sorry.
I don't know of anyone of that description.
Hilo.
Has
Call?
you
Call? Are you saying call or call?
You
Spell it. Can you spell it for me? No clue.
I'm calling you now.
A man with a bunch of jewels in his chest? Nah.
That's
No one would
That
do
could be
that.
a lot of
That's
people around
crazy.
here, to be honest.
Well, piercings are different than embedded jewels. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true. Yeah.
I'll take a piercing. Yeah,
for 3,000, please, Alex.
over like an embedded piece of diamond or something like that in someone's skin.
I've seen
Jesus.
it.
Well,
All right. 2 more notes, rapid fire style. 1, obviously, Annie dead. Lures pour one out for the idiot himself. He's got to die. Hilo says to Tar, which I thought was kind of funny because I feel like he felt like he had to specify this.
mhm.
He's not so bad. He shouldn't suffer at all.
And this just
Like, yeah,
confirms
don't
my
torture
evaluation of Lores, I feel like.
right. It's confirmation.
Even
on our
Hilo was
feelings.
like, yeah.
It was
I feel
fine.
like, just as you said, Frost, like
Quick death.
he wanted to murder him before, and now he's like, let
He's
him
like,
be.
he's just a fucking dude. Unfortunately,
He's a
he was
He
a
is
dude in my
liability,
way.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll know that I was here, so I guess he has to die.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that effectively means he placed all the blame for An's relationship falling apart on Annie herself.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think so. I think he's done that actually. Yeah.
Hmm.
Not on Lars. That's a good read.
Oh yeah, I was misunderstanding you, PJ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after meeting
Oh.
Lors, he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, probably not your fault.
Yeah.
We end the chapter. Hilo, a father times 2. With
Like,
our
hard to even
guy,
be happy
Paul
at this
Rue.
point,
It is, and it's
I don't
so
know if I
matter of
trust-
fact.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust Hilo to
Yeah, Dad.
treat them both as equal sons.
Okay.
Which one do you think's favored?
His own.
Interesting.
Well, I
But
think
Nico's the first son.
we'll see. I think we'll see who
Yeah, but
has
I-
better Jade abilities.
Interesting.
So PJ, based on
What
we
if
know-
what's his butt? The second one's a stone eye.
Thanks a lot,
Rude.
Win. You are cursed. Get out of here.
Wow, rude
Whoa.
shots.
That's a crazy call. We taking the bets on that? It's a
No.
50-50.
I don't take bets on
Okay.
children.
Is it
I'm
a
not a
50-50?
monster.
It happens
Depends
or
on
it
how
doesn't.
genetic
You're
works.
either
I'm
a
gonna-
stone eye or you're not, I think. is the way
that's how genetics
works.
works.
Well, no. It's not
Um,
about genetics. It's about like
hold
the
on, I
fact of
have
the character.
There was a
okay.
conversation going on that I'd like to bring up going
Me
on
and
in
you?
Discord. I didn't.
Okay, but wait, Ben,
um,
are you on the bet?
I would love to
Yeah.
take that bet. Yeah, I'm betting on
Okay. So you,
Hilo's.
Rue
Well,
is a stone eye?
I want to bring this up because I think it's
He's a
relevant.
stone
Okay.
eye.
Let
It
the
was
man
a
talk.
conversation. I think Ragnar brought it up. I can't remember exactly, but the idea of how does jade exposure of a pregnant woman affect the fetus
Mhm.
and affect the child? So
don't-
like she's handling all of this jade and she's inert as a stone eye. Does that make any difference to the baby's development and its jade tolerance?
Questions for the audience, and by that I mean you guys. When's the last textual reference to her handling Jade?
It's just the urn, right?
It's just the urn.
Next
yeah.
question.
Textual,
Wanted
but we
the
know
tech-
she's still acting
Next
like
question. Wouldn't the Tetanese be aware of these complications?
not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't
Based
know.
on
So, PJ,
So
love you dearly.
PJ, I'm not actually heated. I'll just do a bit.
it's
no, but specifically, the idea of female green bones is fairly new.
Yes.
So that.
Yeah. The Jade exposure is fairly new, for sure.
That's what I was hoping you would say. That's what I was getting at with that.
We definitely got into a conversation about this today in the Discord.
That's why I brought it,
in the
'cause I
no,
read-
you can't go there zone, which is the thing
gotcha.
in the Discord for all you fucks,
So
the three of you.
But I think that point
Ben.
was relevant to bring up before making this bet.
I think that Hilo's child, his blood child.
So
Stonai.
PJ, that was in
Stonai.
relation to
Got it.
the episode that just released when she was currently pregnant. Now the baby's out.
Right.
Okay. I don't know if I never mind.
No,
My
that
thought
was good.
misplaced.
No, I don't think it was misplaced.
that got brought up to the idea of like, would it kill the baby?
Right. Oh, you mean like as an
I
infant? I gotcha.
I'm thinking more of, does it affect its tolerance if she ever handled Jade while pregnant?
There's that
Large
side
amounts of it.
genetically too, that she's a stone eye. Is that something that's genetically inherited? Right. So there's there's a number of factors there in terms of sensitivity, I think, that go on.
Yeah, I think it's either stone eye as well, or incredible Jade powers.
All right. So PJ, Ben has the bet in that Rue is a stone eye, that our boy Rue that's coming in through the world, Wen's child, stone eye. What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I think so too.
Okay. Aaron, you don't have to take this, but do you have any thoughts?
I'll do the opposite.
Okay.
Superpower
Is
Play in the field.
gonna be a green bone, or at least sensitive. I'll give you that out.
Green bone abilities.
PJ.
Yes.
Before we got on that side tangent, you raised a point that you
Ben was
were
biting at the mic. How dare you?
Were you?
I'm good. No,
Hey,
you're
this
fine.
dude's- Oh, okay.
No,
All
he's
right.
playing with
just
the
like the
iPad.
cure.
I was messing with the iPad. Sorry.
All right.
Okay.
All right. He's
You
right there.
raised a concern about Hilo's parentage, or parenting style, not his parentage. And I was wondering, what would make you think, based on what we've read, what we know about Hilo, that he would treat them differently?
Because I could see him attributing his mother's infidelity as a slight against the child itself. I don't know.
Okay.
Thinking about like his interactions with Andon
Mm-hmm.
as an adopted child, and not judging him at all, and like really truly adopting him as a
Mhm.
brother.
Seeking out the mate.
I think I'd go back on my previous claim.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Was that out of line for me to raise that question, or is that
No,
fine?
that's
Okay.
perfect. I appreciate it.
I wanted to know where your head was at. That's all. Okay.
Mhm.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
I could
pushing
just
back
see
too
him
much.
being hot-headed and like
Right.
blaming the child for things that weren't his fault.
Play devil's advocate. It could be like the way Kalsen treated Hilo so poorly compared to his siblings. So, familial trauma.
It's a feed down problem. Yeah.
Ben and Aaron.
Hey,
What do you think about Hilo as a father? How do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to be a good father to his kids, just because I think he like understands people really well.
he seems to like kids.
And I think it's important to him. And so yeah, and because he didn't have a dad, and because he was treated like shit by his grandpa, I feel like that would make me feel like that he wants to be different.
But as we've seen with Andon, the minute the kid talks back, he's not going to be a good
But
dad.
I think that the reason I think that Rue is going to be a stone eye is like, I think that is going to push back against Hilo's ability to be a good father, because he's going to be frustrated with that situation. So therein lies the conflict for him being a good father.
Interesting.
If his son ends up being a stone eye, do you think it produces resentment towards Make-Wen?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would, but I think he'd try to suppress it.
Yes.
You guys are raising some fucking thought-provoking questions. Did not occur to me at all on my read-through.
Very excited.
Sounds like a good job, PJ from Thomas.
That's like a
I'll
good
take
job, Ben and PJ. Aaron, you could use
They
some
don't all
work.
have to be explicit, do they? You can infer compliments.
Kidding. Aaron, you're doing a great job.
Everyone
Fuck you,
is
Cross.
doing remarkable.
God, I'm drunk. Please leave me alone.
Gold stars for
was a bit.
everybody.
Gold stars. Gold stars.
What do
Sam.
we, let's
We've got the first
I've
interlude
got
just
this
around this out,
interlude.
and this is so short. There's not a whole lot to talk about here, but we explored the history of Gonlu, the Toon Empire, as well as his relationship with the John Empire as the sort of lost son that wanders the wilderness. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on the whole concept. Again, the interludes building out the mythology. Was there anything that stood out to you, especially considering the Cakenese venturing to the Toon Empire and how that looks?
I had to read this like 3
I
times.
also
It took me so
I was
long
like,
to
what
read
the
it.
fuck?
It took a lot.
I like
It's 2 pages.
I was-
struggled
So
with
hard
it.
for us to place it.
I started
too.
back from the beginning. Like I was like, okay, focus, and then
I
like
know.
I would turn the page and be like, what just happened?
I was having a
was
tough
really-
time
it
with it.
I still don't. I'm like, okay, so it's Ganlu. He's the
No.
son of James or some John.
I feel
or
like it's
something.
going to come up later. Like it's going to connect to
And
something,
the-
but I'm not sure it's
Mhm.
connected to anything
the
yet.
lost son. Yeah, so maybe it's connected to the lost son, like
I think
Nico
just
or
Yeah.
Andon.
Nico. That's his name. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's going to tie into Nico somehow, but I agree. I had a hard time like comprehending
Like,
this.
what?
Yeah, it was.
It's quick and it's not a whole lot. Yeah.
It reminded me of like
Yeah.
trying to read the Old Testament. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I was like, I did feel
That's
like
a
I was reading
great
the Bible.
comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't
Yeah,
understand.
especially after like the like emotional wattage of the previous chapter,
Right.
and we're just like,
Yeah. You're just like,
Cool.
okay.
Dope,
All right.
dope.
tune, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of new names and words thrown in. So
Yeah.
it was hard for me to understand what was happening.
And yeah, and you're kind of reeling from what just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peach, you've been biting at the bit on this one.
No, I was just kind of agreeing that it was hard to really grasp. I feel like if we want to try to attribute any of the comments mentioned here vaguely, we could talk about what's Nicholas's like name
Nico
now?
Jan.
Nico Jan or Andon, I think, or like even Hilo potentially, but that might be a stretch at this point. I don't know. I think this is going to, if it connects to anything, connect to
Could be Zapunio
Things going
even,
forward.
Yeah,
given the
I
way
would
that he left. Yeah.
almost any character.
Almost any
I
character
feel
that
like-
left their
Who's lost?
comfort state.
Are you feeling lost?
Wound
You
is
know,
lost.
I don't blame
Wound.
you for feeling lost. in
This is about
moment, so
Wound.
I'm not upset about it.
Bad boy wound.
All right. Well, again, I didn't expect for there to be a whole lot. We were talking about like, do we end this week on this note or do we start the next week? And it's like, I don't think it fucking matters. So we ended
Yeah.
it this week after the Hilo bit, but glad that we got those thoughts. Again, who won the week? What are our opinions? Let's start with PJ first.
Shay.
Shay? All right.
Shay shined. Shay killed it this week.
Pitch it to whoever you like.
Ben.
Jay as well. And honorable mention to Maru for being so vulnerable. Vulnerable? Vulnerable?
Yeah, you're so close.
Yeah.
He was
You took
Voln,
mine,
man.
but mine was Marrow for getting his nickel.
His nickels tossed? Yeah.
God damn it, Crossland. Prison.
I was trying to say
Oh my
nipple flicked. Nipple flicked. I said nickels flicked.
His nipples
He
tongue
probably
flicked.
also got his nickels
Jeez.
licked.
Yeah.
He definitely got his nickels tossed, too. It's all the same.
Yeah, Marrow won the week.
Crossland. Who won the week?
For me, I think my winner, I said earlier, was Shay. Shay wins this hands down. I do want to give, as a secondary place, a lot of love to Andon because I think that he did well given his own circumstances.
Whatever.
Boo.
I know that not everyone loves that, but I understand.
Shame.
No, I get it.
There's been a lot of talked this podcast about
Yeah.
is
There has.
murdering people is wrong. It's incorrect.
Oh,
However,
no. You can't.
Hilo,
You can't.
Hilo went to Steppenland with one goal: to bring Nico back to K-Con.
It only
And
took
he
2
accomplished
murders.
His
It only
goal.
took 2 deaths.
Killed an innocent mother.
If going somewhere with one goal in mind and accomplishing that goal isn't winning, I don't know what that. I don't
Yeah,
know
no.
what
He
it
didn't
is.
Like,
just
I
kill
went-
him either. He like let the baby like try to wake her up.
It was all fucked up.
Like just pull him away.
But he did accomplish his goals.
Thomas,
In the same way that
scare
Ted
me.
Kaczynski did. So, like, I'm
But
cool
really-
with that. I guess.
Yeah, but Teddy K went to prison.
He should have.
here's-
Hilo should too. Anyway.
But he didn't yet. So
Okay.
you know, this week we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
But really, Shay won the week. She was a fucking bad bitch, and I love
There
that
you go.
for her.
There you go. All right. I'll give you your entire credence back for myself to you.
I just had to. I had to get my
Yeah.
fake agenda off. You know me, number
No,
one
I know.
Hilo stan.
I know you literally sent, for everyone who doesn't know, which is everyone outside of the 5 of us. Thomas knew that this was going to be a fight for Hilo as a character.
I thought it
and
would
was
be
like,
more of a fight.
all right, like I'm going to put on my Predator war paint to like fucking do this shit.
I forgot to do a bit. I was going to be like, this chapter not a lot to talk about. Let's just keep it moving.
And you know what?
Trying to
It was
disservice
good
us.
work. It was good work. So, all right. We've no direct payoffs for anything yet, but we are so close to a couple, and I'm very excited for those to come to roost
interesting.
soon.
This is
for
a
some bets.
tease.
This is a tease.
Next week is our 4th episode, where we'll be reading chapters 22 through 29.
22 through 29. So that's where we'll leave you for this week.
Tim and Andrew, I would just like to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
They fuck.
Just
They
they do a good job.
Ben and Aaron,
Thank
you're
you, Jeremy.
laughing. They're going to make your show so
Listen.
good.
What is it now?
My super sober ass would like to say,
Super soaker ass.
Just felt like a
He's
Tim and
not
Andrew.
good.
Why don't you
Oh my
sit
God.
down? Like,
Come here, little
I
guy.
freaking love you guys.
Sit on my knee.
you, dear listener, if you'd like to check out the show notes, you
They're
would
there.
find our schedule, our Patreon, our previous episodes, our websites, our social media accounts, and maybe a handwritten note from me to you. It's not there. It's not. I'm sorry. I lied. But that's where they'd be.
Yeah,
The
so
show notes.
just for the record, real
What's
quick, real quick double check. In case you aren't aware, we have other shows that are coming out this month, of course. The short pour on The Frugal Wizard, The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson is coming out in the short pour. We also had
Sounds
Castlevania
dreadful.
Season 2 to start out the month. I'll tell you, this episode, I haven't even finished the fucking book, and I'll tell you, I did not enjoy The Frugal Wizard, but I liked
What a
it.
sell. Listen to the
I didn't love
episode.
it. Go listen to the
This guy
episode
loves
to hear why I
everything,
didn't love
too.
it. Yeah,
This guy
I'm more
loves
open.
Everything.
I am
Maybe you'll
very
like it more
open
once you
to a
finish
lot
it.
of things. I don't think so, but I hope so. Thanks, Aaron, for that boost of confidence. You didn't like Tress, which is crazy. Anyway, we're going to not talk about that in a moment. That said, you can find us Words Whiskey Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Words and Whiskey Show, gmail.com, patreon.com/Words and Whiskey, t-shirts on TeePublic. Again, you can see us once a month live if you join the Patreon as we record some of these episodes. You can listen to a number of back-recorded episodes, and we always have advanced versions of the short pours as well as PJ's private show, PJ's Symposium of Media and Whimsy out there.
PJ's writing
people
love
to
notes
we will be
and has a
discussing-
private show. I didn't know any of these things.
We're going to do the Batman. Oh, did you
PJ
not?
and I
Wow.
are going to get high and talk about
Oh, God, yes, we
Big
are.
Trouble in Little China.
Oh my God!
Oh, yes,
we
we're
already.
approaching Big Trouble.
I would
Let's
love
do
to
it.
do that. Hi,
Cross
so
is
I'll figure it out.
pseudo-invited.
Okay, all right, fine. But PJ's in
be
charge of that show.
responsible
It's
with
the only
your
one that I'm
drug
not.
use, kids.
Yes, please. Thank
Also,
you for
don't
the
forget-
disclaimer. Aaron.
Don't forget to rate and review us 5 stars only. If you don't give us 5 stars only, then we will channel into you and explode all of
Ooh.
your capillaries
And steal your baby.
and steal your baby
That's too much. I feel like I'm burning with some notes.
and raise them raise them
We
as
will
our
raise
own,
them as our child.
and
Yeah.
they'll never know about
As
you.
our own
Slightly
child.
change their names.
amongst
Oh my
their
God.
peers.
Yes,
where they'll be
amongst their
loved
peers.
and trained.
So-
And then trained
Wouldn't
into
5
a.
stars be easier than all of that
That's-
for both of us?
Sounds like it to me.
This
Sounds
is-
like it.
You're right. I'm gonna rate
such
the
a rare
show
opportunity.
5 stars. I can't not. All right.
All right. So if Jade
All right.
is a stand-in for guns,
Yeah.
can we imagine like 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds going to a gun-centric school
They're
and
learning how to
learning the
shoot
way of,
responsibly.
yeah, exactly.
That sounds like a
I
great
just think that'd be
exit
really funny.
point. The only thing that I want to add is obviously check out HowlerPod on Instagram, Twitter at HowlerPod, and then you can also check out High Key Obsessed on both Twitter and Instagram. Again, both of those are inside of the links in the descriptions. I hope we do a good job making bits throughout this because this is always fucking hilarious as we like denouement out of an episode because we're all dissolving as people. So with
We
that,
did denim me.
yeah, I tried. With that, good night. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
And good luck.
Bye.